are live. And today we'll be talking about feminism, and my friend is going to show us some of his songs.
Am I?
And yes, you are.
I don't want to.
What are you talking about? Whatever. You're gonna. So okay.
Maybe
And
one.
what?
Maybe one, but
Can you do the one I like?
the one you like.
Well,
I don't know
yeah.
which one do you like.
The beta male one. I like that one.
I'll see if I
I
can
think it's
remember it.
appropriate. Okay, because he wrote this song to basically make fun of Andrew Tate or something.
I don't know. I don't remember why I wrote it.
Kind of, a little bit.
I'm feeling kind of lazy today. You could just play the recording if you want. I mean,
Jesus. Okay, forget it.
noodling. That's all I feel like doing today. I don't really feel like playing or singing. I'm kind of shy.
What time is it over there?
10, a quarter past 10.
It's not that bad. What time is it in Ireland? I have no idea what's
Same,
going on.
should be the same.
9.
An hour.
Oh,
I see. Hour
cool.
difference.
Anyways, so where do we want to start? Okay, everybody introduce yourselves.
We did that.
No, but we did that off
I know
stream.
that he's Irish. I know that he vapes. I know that he hasn't seen the sun in a while.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's like we're best friends.
Yeah, we go way back now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my name's Teriak. I'm a Irish memester. Yeah, I shoot the shit with Kat, Breed One, all the boys over in Rio Pod as well. Check them out too. Alex might be joining later as well. And yeah, just shoot shit, make memes, talk about dating, talk about women in general, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Tell us about your music and what you do, Nick.
I don't know. I play several instruments, and I just kind of put stuff together. And I've been doing it for about 20 something
50 years, yeah.
Yeah. And I've got 5 fans.
Cool. You don't include me, or you do?
Going on 6. I think you count. You're in the 5. Yeah. You're in the top 5 of the 5.
Made the list.
Yeah.
Nice. So, I don't know. You're kind of down today. Do you feel like he's making us down?
Me?
Yes.
Tell us your problems, Nick. That's what we're here for. Tell us your problems.
Accountability. Kat, you're the hostess. You're the one. I mean, just give it a shot. Give it some time. It takes some time to kind of warm up. Once we get going, it'll get going. But be patient.
Okay.
We're going. I mean, what are we going off of? What have we got? It's like feminism. Okay, well, give us some time to get the creative juices flowing. What do you want me to do with that? Feminism. Okay, women. Yeah.
Yes or no?
Depends. It depends, right?
On.
What about you, Kat? Yes or no for women?
No.
Why not?
Don't like it.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we've said all there is to say on that. I mean, anything else would just be redundant, right?
It's too early, I feel, for me.
What do you think? Is it Teriak? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yep,
Teriak. So yes or no for you?
Yes for the women, yes.
Yes for the women, yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Should I just be the host, Kat? Do you want me to be the host?
Can you? I'm tired.
No, I'm not qualified.
Okay, fine.
Clearly not qualified. You're the one who you do this. You do this all the time. You do
what
this
do I
sort
do?
of, you have your show, you interview people, and you have experience. I don't. I just play guitar and write songs that you're not allowed to play on your show because they have too many cuss words and say inappropriate things. So I have to out. So I've got to, send you a clean version.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about feminism with like what's a good place to start with that? Do you think there's anything good that came out of it? One thing good.
Hard to think of anything.
Sorry?
Hard to think of anything, Kat, to be honest.
So it's all terrible. Oh, and before we begin, I would just like to leave a disclaimer that everything we say does not affect our views or this channel's views and is completely fake and false and does not mean anything. And we're just talking out of our ass. And if you listen to us, you do so at your own risk, and we take no liability for what happens to your brain. Okay, go on.
It depends on how far back you want to go. Like if you want to go back to before suffrage, okay. I mean, I guess it was a good thing to have women.
But like particularly why?
I don't know. I just think it's not so nice to have to not let women vote. I don't know. I just don't like that. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think, if men can vote, why can't women vote? I may be wrong. What do you think?
For me, it comes down to like, if we look at it for like at the perspective, every man and every woman, like every person deserves a vote, then there is no logical argument, so on and so forth. But in terms of the perspective that I think that it should only be taxpayers and military should vote. And then from there, it is what it is. If you can't, and like not lowering the military standard, you put the high standard on the military, and if they get in, they get in. And if they have jobs, they have jobs. But like that's the way I look at it, rather than a man versus a woman thing. But I think like a lot of the stuff, when you look back at the suffrages, it's very dark. It's more so like we just want to destroy the family, and kind of like almost that like mean vindictive kind of like hating on life kind of thing almost. Because again, like a lot of these bitches were bombing. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty serious shit.
But I think we've got different. Maybe we've got different history on this. Like, when did women get the right to vote in Ireland?
I'd have to look that up. One sec. I got Grok here.
And how was it before? Was it like they couldn't vote just because they were women, or because in the States I think it was like 1922, and before that women couldn't vote just because they were women. So even if they were really involved in politics, and well, if you go back far enough, it's even worse than that. Like there's the whole race. Yeah.
The whole kind of like for Ireland, just Grok got back to me there. He goes 1918. So basically, like as soon as the Irish state was formed, women had the right to vote like from the beginning. But Ireland's always been a neutral country, so the whole kind of, because like again, the whole thing for men was that you had the right to vote because you were drafted. Like it was all about like you had to do the military service because you had skin in the game. You're willing to fight for the country, and either way, it's like drafted is like it's forced conscription or whatever. So it's like that's the main thing. But with a lot of the like Pearl would have a better description of it. Like I'd need to pull up the video or whatever, but I don't have the link on me. But she was kind of saying like in terms of the writings that she was going through, like it's literally just like they just want to destroy the family. It's not about like actually granting like women or like actually caring about women. Because like bear in mind, like it's what, say 100 years give or take, and women are still selling pussy. Like in terms of like it's more like the world is more feminist than it is like let's say 100 years ago, and we're still at that state where it's women are being objectified, all these kind of stuff that they say they want to stop, but it just almost seems as though they're feeding into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and one of the reasons that we were not taught any of this stuff in school, what I learned from Rachel Wilson was that in her book, she talks about how suffrage was not wanted by the majority of women. It was like 90 or something % did not want it because they wanted to remain impartial so that they can community-wise affect the like politics and stuff like that on the ground level, and that they wouldn't be kind of like going for a particular political party, that they would be just doing what the community needs. And then another thing that they said was that it was tied to, or initially, the right to vote was tied to doing service, like armed services, like in military. And women didn't want to do that because it was a right that you earned through military service. And they're like, we do not want to be drafted. We do not want to do that stuff. So why would we want to do that? And that's, not something that they were interested in. So this was forced upon them without their consent by the people who wanted to do this. And we were not told exactly the truth in school. We were just told, like, oh, women were like beating, what was it, like they had no rights. They couldn't open a bank account. They couldn't do like 50 million things that are just so horrible. They kind of reworded it to make it sound like we were in such a horrible state that we needed these so-called rights when we literally had so many privileges before, because we just didn't need this. So, for example, women didn't have the right to open a bank account, let's say, but that was because they were not allowed to carry debt. Their debt was carried by their husbands. So their husband had to pay off their debt legally. So they can go to a store, buy whatever they want, take it out, and their husband had to go and close the debt. And they didn't tell us this. They're just like, oh, it's because they were trying to control you. I mean, maybe. And also women could, for example, inherit land and goods and stuff like that from their families. And they could, hello, Grid. It's Autumn. Yeah. What's up? Oh, I can't hear you. Anyways, so Nick, did you know about any of that stuff?
No.
Does knowing that change any of your opinions or no?
Do I know that any of that is true? Because I mean, I remember seeing pictures of women marching, and protesting to get the right to vote. So I don't know. I don't know. You're saying there was like a conspiracy and it was all to break up the family?
Dude, he thinks everything I say is conspiracy, and he has to
make it sound.
He has to devil's advocate everything. He's like, I don't know, everything you say sounds like crap to me. So we're gonna go with that.
There's nothing wrong with wearing tinfoil hats, okay? Just saying.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. But anyways, okay, let's talk about like what it's become now then, because we can see what it's become now.
Well, like now it's basically a divide, because now there's like the internal conflict because the LGBT alphabet boys basically came in, and now there's like TERFs, which are like the feminists that are against the trans thing, and then there's the inclusive feminists, or whatever they're calling it, that are like they want the trans thing. But now, like I said, it's kind of like that whole kind of internal conflict that's going on with that, where it's ultimately, I think, just going to destroy itself. Or maybe that's more me just hoping kind of thing. But yeah, like it's kind of, when you have kind of men in dresses, and then you have like all these kind of women's spaces and all these allowances that were given to women, that's when you basically have a loophole in the system, basically. And then when you start to see that, like, yeah, it's maybe like a 1% case, but there are like the creeps out there that will use anything and everything to their advantage to try and manipulate people and do all their dark shit and all that. So that's the other thing to it. And then, like I said, it's gone to a crazy element now, where it's like most, like, if you were to ask like a feminist what is the biggest thing that or is the most important thing in this next up and coming election, they would say abortion rights. Which is crazy, because we have the average woman now saying that they'd rather, like, their top priority is their right to kill their own child. Which, how that, like, because the question that I keep coming back to is, what right does a man have that a woman doesn't have in modern times? You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I said if you want to talk about feminism, I think it depends on how far back you want to go. I don't really think it's that important to me today. It's not important at all to me today. I don't pay attention to it. I think it's one of those things like that should have gone away. It should have gone out of style, but some people still kind of care about it, like bell bottoms or like sideburns or whatever, you know. So I just ignore it. I really just ignore it because I'm like, yeah, well, we did that. We got the things that we needed to get, you know. I really think that women, like you said, I mean, I can think of few rights that men have. I can't think of any rights that men have that women don't have today. I mean, can you think of any, Kat?
Can you think of any rights that men don't have that women have?
No, can you think of any rights that men have that women don't? That women should, you know, that women need to fight for?
No,
And, you know,
there's absolutely nothing. But like the reverse, are there any rights that women have that men don't have?
well, I wouldn't call them rights, but there's certain privileges that they have, you know, like it's always going to be, they're going to get a little more credibility than men in many situations, you know. It's always going to be like the man's the suspect automatically and the woman gets the benefit of the doubt, you know, in many situations. I think, you know, like men are going to be, I think we've got like, you know, that we've got a sort of strike against us already from the get-go. And women, people just assume that women are innocent. You know, like if it's a man and a woman, I think they're going to assume that the man is guilty and the woman is innocent. I may be wrong. I don't know. Depends on the situation.
I can hear you now, Grid, by the way.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. I haven't actually rebooted my machine in like a week. So I ended up, I'm still like, all I did was refresh a bunch of stuff. So it may go squirrely, but we'll see. The feminism argument is always very interesting to me. And I really, really like to debate it because I think most people are really, really uneducated on it. And it's more of an education than a debate for me. So I heard a little bit about what was said, and I'll pick it up wherever you want.
From the beginning, if you want.
Yeah.
From the beginning?
Yeah, like what rights do women need to fight for now? Or did they ever need any?
They don't need to fight for anything. Feminism is a poison that's attacking everything in life. It's literally the most toxic thing on the planet. There is absolutely no need for it whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it weakens them and makes them less safe in every country it's enabled in. My wife and I actually were talking about this morning because we said, you know, we were talking about it, about how how the U.S. Being a religious-based country should be more safe than, say, Japan, which is not. They're a bunch of degenerates and hedonists. So why do women feel less safe here? Well, it's because they've told men for the last century, it's 100 years, that men are out to get them. They should not protect them because a woman might feel threatened by the very act of you attempting to protect her. That women can take care of themselves. They're bad bitches, and a lot of other lies. And it's all lies. Not that abuse doesn't happen, but men are more abused than women are, typically. Because we're not only abused by men, we're also abused by women. And if you don't believe that, just take a roll through your local female prison. So, the interesting thing is that let me ask. So, I have kids. I know Kat has kids. Teriak obviously should not have kids because he's not married. Don't you be a fucking degenerate?
True. Living the bachelor life, boys. Got high energy levels.
Yeah, don't be a degenerate. Do you have kids, Nick?
Yeah, I have a daughter. I'm a degenerate.
Are you married?
No, I'm not.
Not married? Okay. Have you ever been in a situation where the woman you were dating was pregnant and ended up terminating that pregnancy?
You don't have to say.
You don't have to say. I'm just asking a question.
No.
Okay, you haven't.
No.
Have you known someone that has? I mean, a male, not a female. I'm saying one of your boys.
I can't think of any. No, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. No.
So I've had many friends who have been in that situation. They were degenerates at the time. We can't save them all. We can try. Being a degenerate at the time myself, I had a unique viewpoint and perspective. And interestingly enough, I think that all of those men would have preferred those children to have lived that were murdered in the womb. But they have absolutely no say in that. None. Zero. Do you think that that is right?
Well, that's a tough call.
Yeah. Is there anything that you can think of within reason? I mean, we can make extreme hypotheticals, but I'm saying within reason to defend that position.
I think it's just it's the woman's choice, and that's twofold.
Why?
It's her body. It's in her.
It's his seed.
Yeah, that's true. It's his seed. Yeah. I don't know.
It's his child just as much as it is hers. If she carries that child to term in America, I don't know about in Europe, but in America, that man is responsible for that child the rest of his life, whether he wants to be or not.
That's true. That's true.
So how can you reconcile that?
If he wants her to get an abortion, well, I have a question for you. What if he does? What if he wants her to get an abortion and she doesn't want to?
And she doesn't want to?
Right. Yeah.
Well, then that would be something for them to work out. But I would believe that at that point, whoever wants the child to live has precedence, right? I would rather have someone save a life than end a life. Okay,
well, what if that life is going to be lived in poverty? And
how do you know that? I grew up in poverty. Look at me, I'm a multimillionaire. That's a really bad tact with me, because my mom was unmarried when she had me. She didn't marry the fellow, but she was unmarried. This is why I have a very unique insight into this. Again, coming from degenerates myself, being a degenerate much of my life, it's very hard to use these arguments against me because I grew up dirt poor. I mean, I had power cut off to my house. I didn't get new clothes for years. I got hand-me-downs from the church. I had the church providing me food, my family food. So for someone to say, well, that child's going to grow up poor, why would you make him suffer? That's a bullshit argument. 100%. There's no groundwork for that. That child could grow up to be Donald fucking Trump.
Well, what if that child's going to have, a disorder like Down syndrome or something like that?
Okay. What if we can determine a child is going to be gay? Should we end them in the womb?
Why? No, I don't care.
Okay. Same deal. Just because he has Down syndrome doesn't mean they won't live a productive life.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I don't know. I'm not.
I understand your point. You're up in your feels. You're up in your feels and you're saying, you know what? Women, it's their body. They have to carry it for 9 months. Great. But the minute that child pops out, that woman can abandon all care for that child, give it up to an orphanage, and no man can stop her. Worse, that woman can deny that man rights to his child, but take every dime she possibly can through the courts. Tell me where a woman is disadvantaged at all.
Oh no, I agree. You're preaching to the choir on that point.
Okay. So feminism is toxic. Feminism is toxicity incarnate. You can't name. Okay, let me back up. Because I'm coming at you pretty hard. I'm sorry, man.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. This is something that I love this subject so much. Name one redeeming quality of feminism.
Oh, I'm not a feminist.
Oh, okay. I thought you were. It says feminism debate.
Oh no!
I thought you brought me a feminist. Where's my feminist at?
I was going to ask, like, who's the feminist here? Who's pro-feminism?
Oh, I'm definitely not.
Nobody
feminist.
is. Nobody here is. I'm not a feminist.
Well, I've been led astray, cat. Bad cat. Bad.
The only thing we differ on though is that I'm just pro-choice because I don't care either way. Like I don't think life is that special or great. I mean, I wouldn't mind if I was never born. I just don't think it's a special thing. But I'm not. Let's not get into that. I'm not religious. I don't want to
I
talk
think
about.
that's a better topic though, because like without life, you would not be able to experience what you're experiencing now. You wouldn't be able to experience. Your daughter would never been. None of this would be happening right now without life. So to say
Nor
that life's not that special.
all the other unpleasant things wouldn't have happened either. So I mean, it's like it evens out, if you ask me. I mean, I wasn't complaining before I was born. I wasn't like dying to get, like, hey, why am I not alive yet? I mean, I don't think it matters either way.
I don't know,
That's an
man.
interesting take. That's
Like
pretty.
in terms of like with life itself, that's where it's like I had the similar thing, like where it's kind of like you genuinely ask yourself like, what is the point? Because like that, and that's where like atheism leads to, where it's just this kind of like either you just kind of override the logic or you just end up in nihilism and you're like, yeah, there's no reason to. But in order to even have that thought, you had to have existed, and then in order to exist, there has to be life. You know what I'm saying? So in terms of the logic, that's why logic comes from, like I say, logic comes from God, because it's creation itself. Because without these steps, it wouldn't be possible. Do you know what I mean? So like I said, in terms of this whole kind of like basically darkness that I find it, where it's kind of like this whole like, what's the point in life and all that. There is tons of things that like great things that has happened, and yes, there's bad, but you can't just take the good. You have to take the bad with the good. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's our place to answer those questions or to even ask them. That's why I wouldn't say I'm an atheist. I'm agnostic. It's not my question to answer. I don't think I'm able to answer that. I think logic is one of those things that it's like our language, right? Logic is the language that we understand as human beings, but God is above that. Whatever is above us that we don't understand, I think is just totally incomprehensible to us, and we shouldn't even worry. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to answer the meaning of life, to figure out what it's all about. I think we'll just like roaches just go about their business. They go about their lives. They're born and they die, and that's it. And that's what we're here for. We're just here to be born and to die and to not ask too many questions. Fuck it.
But all of them create. That's my point. Every single
instinct, obviously that's what we have. I mean, obviously that's proof that there's something bigger than us. We've got this instinct, that we've got these sort of compulsions, these instincts that drive us, and you've got your rational mind that tries to fight that, but very often just can't compete. Haven't you ever had a sort of inner struggle, inner battle, like where your conscious mind, your rational mind said this is wrong, I shouldn't do this, but then your animal mind or whatever just went ahead and did
like
it anyway?
there's impulses and all that, and like I said, probably a good example of that, just to make sure that we're on the same page, is probably like you're married or whatever, and then you have this like very sexually promiscuous woman, some may call them whores, come up to you and try to lead you astray. But that, again, that's still based in that kind of instinct of wanting to create, spread your seed. There's a quote from I think in the what's it called now? What's the Islam Bible called? Quran. Yeah, there's a quote from the Quran, and this is why you can't just kind of discard Islam, because like I said, there is a difference. Those who worship the Prophet and those who worship actually God. Where it says, there's a guy who was feeling down, he was feeling suicidal, all stuff. He goes, the imam basically went up to me and said, "Good, throw yourself in the sea, see what happens." And it's that whole process. If you were to throw yourself in the sea, the first thing you're going to be doing is fighting to breathe. That instinct itself.
Well, yeah, of course, but I never denied that. I never said that wasn't the case.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying in terms of like that, like to describe what you're saying, like in terms of those instincts that you have and all that, that natural thing to want to live, and that's what I think a lot of people need to start thinking about. Because when you're saying not to ask the questions, I think we need to be brave enough to ask these questions, because I think there's a lot of fear that, if I just try to address atheists, it's just be pure logic, and then the logic would be like there's no point in this. But when you do address it, there are logical cases where it's, no, this actually makes sense. Life makes sense. You know what
I mean? Life makes sense in an irrational way, in a way that doesn't make sense. If
we may not be able to understand it, but the fact that, like I said, we can describe things like I said, being in drowning in the ocean, you're going to be fighting to breathe. You know what I mean? It's it's like we said, like an instinct, or like things like that, like, you know.
Right, which means it means it makes sense to something or someone else, but not to me, not to us, you know. Like you're kind of forced into it, and it's like really important that you survive, that you want to survive. You've got that instinct that, I mean, I wouldn't have chosen to have, to be honest. I would prefer to have full conscious control over whatever happens to me, just to think, yeah, I don't feel like going on any further. I think 45 is good, so let's just end it here. But you can't do that. So you're not the boss. And I think most people would rather be the boss. I think I'd rather be the boss of my own life. You could argue, yeah, you always are, but you're not really. You're not really your own, the boss of your existence.
Interesting.
Could you give me an example?
Do you feel like you have a purpose in life?
Sorry?
Do you feel like you have a purpose in life?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think life has a purpose. I don't think anyone has a purpose in life. And if they do, it doesn't matter. It won't matter 200 years from now anyway. But what you said, Tariaq, if someone drops you in the ocean or whatever, drops you in a river, yeah, like even like the most, maybe not the most suicidal person, but people who hate life will still try to survive. It's just bigger than them. It's bigger than they are.
Do you know who J.D. Rockefeller was?
Was he from the Rockefeller family?
He was the Rockefeller family. He was the patriarch of that family. Yeah, he started the whole thing.
Okay.
And so you say it won't matter in 200 years, but do you know the public school system that in America at least is entirely based on the outline that he laid out to provide him with a staff, a working body of people? And the entire public education system, he did that. It wasn't the public education system originally. He actually funded that. I think he spent $198 million of his and some of his fellow robber barons' money, which I always have to comment. I mean, you got to have a big set of balls to call yourself a robber baron. I mean, think about that.
I got a question.
That's pretty nutsy.
But do you think?
But we're 200 years later, and his legacy is sustained. His family is sustained. His children to this day have different names. I mean, obviously through marriage, but his children survive, and his legacy survives. So
would he be proud of the school system today, the public school system?
Would he be proud of? Yeah, it accomplished exactly what he intended it to. It's exceeded his wildest dreams.
Do you think that was a noble cause?
I'm sure he did. What I think about it is irrelevant. I'm sure he thought it was a noble cause.
Okay, well, he's a small minority, though, of the people who were around in his day. I think most people, whatever they did, whatever, who remembers them? Who cares? He's a very.
We're all remembered if we if we provide family and we continue the bloodline. We're all remembered.
I don't remember I have no idea who my great grandparents were. I have no idea.
I'm very sorry for you. My great grandmother was a Cherokee Indian, full blooded. My on one side of my family there were gamblers and pirates. On another side there were slave owners. So
okay.
I can go back. I can keep going back. Before that, they were indentured servants from England, Wales, and Scotland, and I think we've got a balmy Irishman.
I knew there was a bit of Irish in there. There's a bit of Irish.
It's like this much, though. It's like this much. But they came over as indentured servants, which were effectively slaves. So I mean, I can trace my family back probably about 300 years. So to the idea that in 200 years nobody will care. I mean, that's kind of up to you.
No,
in 200 years, my the groundwork I lay today for my sons will hopefully provide for them to the point that they can trace their lineage back 500 years.
Okay.
And I'm a normal person.
I can't think of any accomplishments. I don't know any accomplishments in my lineage that are, I don't know, that are worth mentioning. Maybe. I mean,
or mine really. I mean, one of my on my grandfather's side, one of his ancestors rode with Frank James, the James gang. On my mom's side, there was a riverboat gambler out of Memphis that actually was known for stabbing people. That's probably why I like knives. I mean, we could keep going, but these are inconsequential, nobody people to be in the grand scheme of things, but they are part of my lineage. I know that they exist.
Okay.
So, and probably some arrest records somewhere. They probably.
Well, to get kind of back on feminism.
Feminism.
Because now I feel like it's an intervention.
Shut up, woman.
Oh my gosh. Do you think that women are happier now? Does anybody think?
No.
Let's go around.
They're miserable.
Teriak.
No, and I think you can see it like with like antidepressant medication, and like there is like a counter argument of like Quaaludes or other medications along those lines that were basically prescribed to housewives and all that. But as we can see now, like even with like these gains and all that stuff over the past 100 years, like women are still online selling pussy, and pretty much there's nothing sadder a woman can do than sell pussy. Like they might be able to say a strong face and I got all this money, all this cash, but what's the world without a soul? You know what I mean? It's just for me, it's kind of one of those things where it's like that lie do work, like, hey, big boy and all that, like they act sexy just to try and get you and all that. But it's like when you live that lie, it's like I said, there's something else. There must be some higher power because all this kind of stuff, it ends in destruction because, like I said, you've basically thrown away. You know what I mean? You've taken something that was something that makes life and kids and all that.
Your mic is terrible.
Yeah, your mic's kind of cutting out.
You're either too far away from it or your mic is cutting out. It's like every half a word it drops.
Oh shit! One second, let me go through sentence. What about now?
That's much better.
Yeah. I think it's like something I do with Streamlabs. Every single time I go on, it lowers the mic on thing. But yeah, like what I was saying, it's basically taking that divine element and corrupting it. You're basically kind of taking an act of creating life and do it, like basically taking the act, but not taking out the result and then putting a price tag on it, which doesn't sound very sexy when you say it like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What I think makes them the most depressed now is that they're told that they have to get this big career and then that they'll just find a guy when they're old and then have kids when they're older and things will be better. But what ends up happening is they get their big career. The guys that, become successful, they want younger, fertile girls, and then they kind of get aged out of the dating market. And now they're like depressed because they were lied to or they're angry about it. And then they hate the people who got married quicker and had kids, and they resent other women, and they resent the men who don't want to marry them and just use them.
What about the 51% of women who do get married when they're younger and end up getting divorced? They end up in the same or a similar situation anyway, except maybe they have kids, but they're not much happier. You can count them in the put them in the category of unhappy as well.
So that's an interesting question. I like that question. It's a good one. Do you mind, Kat? Do you mind terribly?
Okay.
Go. So I like stats, and I like it when people start talking. I think. Hang on. Am I echoey? Okay. All right. Anyway, so 51% of women get married when they're younger, which should honestly be closer to 60 or 70% for optimal life. I think. I think most women, if getting married past 22 to 24 is it's suboptimal. It's going to lead to problems later in life. But for the ones that do, you're saying that they get married or they get divorced later. Well, that's interesting because 80% of divorces are initiated by women. the majority of that 80%, something like I don't quote me on the exact number, it's in the 90 percentile range, list that they are unsatisfied in the marriage. It's not that there's a problem. It's not that he's beating her. It's not that he's a bad husband. It's not that he fails to provide for her or she lacks in any way. She's just fucking bored.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not saying it's the man's fault.
So that's a her problem,
Of
not
course,
a he problem.
but that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if she waits till later. It's going to be the same result.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So at the end of the day, I think that what we have to do is and part of the reason that these women get bored is because they're told constantly. Well, there's actually several reasons, which I'll quickly cover a few of them. The biggest one that I dislike is because they're constantly told that they deserve better than what they have, and what they have is just not worth having. They could always get better. And so they start looking around, and there's a lot of really popular cartoons, where the guy goes to work every day. She's sitting at home alone on the couch all day in front of the TV, and she gets bored. And all of a sudden, here's another guy. And, he's way more exciting because he doesn't work, or, he has a, whatever different job or something. And she leaves the guy who's actually working his ass off to provide for her and his family. And, she leaves the guy who's provided for her entire life for somebody that, is just exciting. And then of course that relationship fails. So the result is that we need to repair the damage done by feminism. That's the simple answer, the short answer. The longer answer is that, married women should not associate with single people socially. You shouldn't have. Yeah, right. Kat's like a big believer in that. I'm 100%.
It
just seems normal, right? It seems like a no-brainer, but and it's always, you always have that one friend in every friend group that has just been divorced or is thinking about it, that will corrupt the entire friend group. I've seen that happen a few times, and it's an interesting dynamic, I think. And again, I don't know that we have. I think we can just lead that directly back to the way that we're training, teaching, indoctrinating, however you want to, whatever verb you want to use to describe it. Women from basically birth to believe that they deserve better than anything else, and they're just never happy, so they just get bored. And I fully support people getting out of bad relationships. You make a mistake, people make mistakes. I fully support. Just, hey, bail out, right? But bailing out because you're bored is fucking stupid. Okay, I'm sorry. I preached a little too long there.
All right, let me just say one thing that I've noticed, because there are definitely marriages that I've seen that are ended because the guy just leaves a woman and his entire family. But this is also a problem with feminism, because who are these other women that they're leaving them for? Desperate women that have access to married men that will be hypersexualized to get their attention, to take them away from a family because they're bitter and jealous that they didn't get that, or they want that, so they're trying to steal it from someone else. And we used to have that stuff in check because people would all marry young, and it was not considered socially acceptable to be the other woman or to leave your family. And we had that in society to keep it in check. And when you introduce feminism, it kind of came with this immorality of nothing matters and nothing is sacred. And then it had this downstream effect of now everybody just gets the best deal, gets whatever they want. She has that, but I'm just going to steal it from her. And then you have all these guys with way too many options. Then nobody should have this many options, male or female. And the options don't even end when you get married. And that's the downstream effect of
But
all
the
of it.
females are the females have the options, really. The females choose. I think, it's like that famous
Well, men
author.
have agency and can say no.
Yeah, but I mean, women are the ones who can choose. Like, and if you want to try an experiment, just go on one of those dating apps. They've done it. They've taken equally good-looking men and women, right? And they've gone on there, same settings, and the women just kill the men on there.
Yeah,
They just get so many matches, and like they have the power. Clearly, they're the ones who decide. They're the ones who choose.
Well,
They've
women
got,
have the power.
own-
Women control access to sex, but men control access to relationships. Because men can hang a woman out for years and never have a relationship with her. And a lot of men do. And let me actually, my wife and I were talking about this on a drive this morning, and it's this. I'm gonna have to think about this because it was basically about. Have you guys seen all of the stuff coming out about Ashley Madison?
That's the cheating
the
website.
Cheating website, right?
What else came out? I know that they had a data breach years ago.
Yeah, they had data breach years ago, and then it was a lot of drama. They've just recently released a bunch of like previously unreleased like backstories and stuff. And I think this was pretty popular at the time, but it's kind of being rehashed out now where there was a religious YouTube influencer who his emails was found during the breach. They played it off as him and his wife played it off as they were just doing research or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And everybody kind of bought it. But then as it came out that he was not only cheating using Ashley Madison on his wife, he was also cheating in other areas as well, like on other websites and whatnot. And it destroyed his wife. Like his wife is absolutely completely destroyed. And to this day, I think. And he lost everything. And he was like a huge influencer through YouTube. And I can't remember his name. And it's very interesting. The subject came up is like, in Japan, for example, realistically, you can have 3 women in your life. You have the woman you use for sex. You have the woman that you love and you go places with and hang out with, and that's your, whatever. And then you have the woman that you were married to, which is a social contract for business or looks or whatever. And that's totally acceptable there. Your wife won't get mad that you have this this person that you spend all your time, that you love and spend all your time with, and the person you love, your wife and the person you love and spend all your time with, won't be mad that you're fucking this other girl, or however many other girls. That's totally acceptable. And I said, the difference is that they don't have religion, and they're a bunch of degenerates and hedonists, and so it's perfectly acceptable in that society. But you look at the birthing rates, you look at their society is going to fail sooner rather than later because they're not able to replace their aging generation because the younger people are more and more corrupt year after year, and it's a failed society. It could save itself. I don't think it will. We are, Western society is going quickly down that path. And we talked about this morning about, my perspective on cheating. And I've said this many times. I'll continue to say it. There's no point to me to cheat. If I don't want to fuck my wife anymore, I will just tell her, hey, it's been a good run. I don't want to fuck you anymore. I'm going to go find somebody else. And that'd be the end of it. Right. I'm a man enough to do that. Because if there's never been a relationship for me that was just about sex since I was about 21. Give me my teen years to be a coomer degenerate, right? I mean, I wasn't, my brain wasn't fully formed. Give me a break. But after that, I just didn't bother lying. I just didn't cheat. I would just rather break up with them. So Clover Tack, buddy, I got pulled in, man. I got pulled in. I was on the couch. I was relaxing. I was watching Andrew's Pizza Party, and they started talking about feminism. And I can't leave that alone. Welcome in, Clover Tap. Welcome in, everybody, to Kat's channel. Please don't scuff the rug. She will get mad. And yeah, but so cheating, I've just never seen the point in actual cheating, in secret affairs and relationships and things like that. I just don't see the point. That could just be me. I'm sure Kat has lots of stories about people in her community that have held on to secret relationships for decades, but I don't know any people like that. I limit my exposure to degenerates.
Just Cheeks.
Just Cheeks. Cheeks doesn't even. He's not that big a degenerate. I mean, he's a degenerate, but he's not that big a degenerate.
Beaten Cheeks is not that big of a degenerate.
I didn't say he's not a degenerate. I just say he's not that big a degenerate. He's like, I'm not a degen.
Okay.
You and Kat have to hash that out.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's where I see feminism leading. First, it starts with you need to work outside the home to be like for your life to mean something. They literally told women that being a mother and taking care of their family doesn't have any value. They told men it doesn't have any value, to where men will actually go to a woman and say, you're so smart. Don't you want to do something with your life? Don't you want a big career? Don't you want to make like tons of money? Like, oh, you're just wasting your life at home. How sad for you.
Well, the worst thing is that now it's necessary just to make ends meet. Whereas I think maybe 50 years ago, 70 years ago, you could a whole family could get by on just one man's income working in a factory or whatever, Am I wrong?
Well,
100%.
I think that if Andrew
No,
Wilson
100% agree.
Okay.
Andrew Wilson has a really great take on this. Give me one second, my son. Yeah, what do you want? No, do it now. What are you doing? Get back to work. Go mow the lawn. What? Maybe. We'll talk. So he's negotiating a raise in his allowance for mowing the lawn. Anyway, where were we? What were we talking about?
Now it's necessary in many cases.
Oh yeah. So Wilson has a really good take on this, and he says that the reason that the reason that we see this decline in the need for two incomes is because with such a large labor force, wages were able to be held down, and so that if you actually pulled more women out of the workforce if they stayed home, there would be far fewer workers, and therefore they would be more valuable, so the wages would go up. And factually, he's correct. Now, in practice, who knows? We haven't tried it. But factually,
we should just be house husbands. We could just, do a role reversal. Yeah. It's a women's turn now. It can work.
This is what I'm talking about.
I really do not. I really don't want to see a world of run by women, mainly because it wouldn't exist long enough for me to see it.
We'll kill each other.
What would happen? Why would it end? How would it end?
What do you mean? How would it end? Well, first of all the women would kill each other, and then it would just be us men, and then we can't recreate. Okay, so as long as men keep one of us alive, they're good. But we need a bunch of them.
Yeah. So
why would women kill one another?
Because there'd be so few real men left. Because everybody be like, "I'll just be a house husband."
Have you met one? They're like one step. They make the best psychotics are all women.
We never get caught.
Well, that's scary. Don't say that. I was going off of the ones they have caught.
Yeah, but it's like women don't get caught. That's the difference between men and women in violence. Women don't do overt violence.
I don't know. I've seen some women beating other women's ass.
Yeah,
in
but that's
Walmart.
more like crazy ghetto women. I'm
Walmart, 2
talking
a.m. I'm telling you, man, there's some ass beating going on.
when they used to have harems, they would poison the other women who were pregnant or
That's true.
do infanticide and like kill their babies so that their baby would rise to power. I mean, women do not, they are the most violent.
That's true.
There's a reason why they say bitches be cray.
That's right. That's a guideline. That's not a rumor. That's a guideline.
Pretty sure that was in Proverbs or the Bible or somewhere. No, it literally says bitches be cray.
Corinthians.
Corinthians.
Somewhere in there.
Romans, actually, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, I don't think women do well in the workforce.
No, up until like maybe 35, they're okay. And then they start to get resentful.
We need feminists in this talk because it's all very one-sided. I think we need for it to be a real debate. We need someone to say, actually, what do you say?
Actually, I don't know any anymore. They're all scared of me.
We're all like, yep, amen, yep, you're right, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we need Cheeks in here so he can give us the other perspective.
Cheeks is not a feminist. He's a degenerate, but he's not a feminist. He's not even that big a degenerate right now. He's like, supposedly he went on a date without having sex with a girl, but how do we know? How do we know?
Yeah. So,
But there are jobs. There are jobs that women do better than men.
Have kids, take care of children.
No, other jobs.
Like what?
Well,
oh my gosh,
like nurses. I like your
take care of people.
Yeah, take care of people. Yeah, but not necessarily their own children, but they take care of people. I think they're better suited to that kind of work than men, in general. Yeah. And
what about teaching? Do you think women make good teachers?
Yeah, teachers, school children. They respond, I think, better to women. Women are more patient. They're softer. Huh?
Bree's about to go to work.
I'm not going to go. That's actually really wrong. Men throughout history have always been the teachers. You can go back, Mongols on the steppes, Japanese culture, Chinese culture, literally every culture in the world up until about the 50s. Women only took care of toddlers. They literally babies. Once they could actually walk on their own and do things on their own, men took over throughout history until we fucked it up. By we, I mean modern society, not you and me. I didn't have anything.
Me personally, yes. Go on.
But I mean, would a man want to do that job though? Would a man want to be in a room? I think
men are called to do that job. I am.
Teacher?
I teach people. Yeah, I teach people all the time. I consider myself
children. I mean, I don't have the patience. I don't want to be in the same room with 20, 30 kids. I think women have the patience. They can, because
women have no patience.
We get like violent. I think
that's why they're on antidepressants. That's why they literally have a jar of pills, or actually a row of jars of pills in every fucking medicine cabinet across the country. Men have ibuprofen. Literally, that's the only drug I have in my house for me. Is vitamin I, maybe vitamin I. And
what would the alternative be? Instead of having
men teach children.
Really? Okay.
Women don't have the patience for it. That's why they have to turn young boys into girls so that they can deal with them.
Yeah, to get them to sit still in the classroom.
Sit still. So I have a really interesting story. So my son that was just here, when he was in first grade, he had this. And now I'm going to admit this was a school in California. So we're going to give it a little tiny bit of leeway. So he had a teacher. I actually thought she was going to be a good teacher when I met her. I thought she was okay. Everything was great. she could not discipline a kid. Literally, she would call me. I would be out of state. I remember I was on the range about to shoot a stage. I get a phone call from the school expecting the worst. Hey, what's up? Can you tell your son to stop reading a book and do math right now? There's a legit conversation I had. I shit you not. I was flabbergasted. And it happened more than once. She did it over and over and over again because she could not deal with the kids not listening to her. Women have no ability to have a command structure. They just don't. Men do. Men innately have a command structure in place. And we're better able to deal with unruly kids. We're better able to set expectations and watch the children adhere to them. Throughout history, that's been true. You can go literally pick any race, region, type of tribal, city, whatever. Pick any culture. Women were not teachers in any way beyond little tiny kids. Old men who could no longer hunt, could no longer go to war, and young men who were too young to hunt and go to war. They taught children. So, yeah.
So we should go back to that.
I think so. I think women should be kicked out of schools. I actually believe that we should redo the entire school system. I believe that our education system is overburdened with unnecessary prattle that benefits no one except the school system by being able to charge for it and collect money. Education should not ever be considered a profitable enterprise. Obviously children needs to be teachers need to be paid, but I would rather that come back to communities rather than I would actually rather cities and towns have complete autonomy, no state funds, no federal funds, nothing. And if you're in a poor area, then, maybe maybe you have to reach out to your local churches and stuff and whatever. But the federal government is not an ATM for school systems. And it's being used as that. And I don't like it. I think it's bullshit, especially when they're teaching things like gender studies and cultural 101 and a bunch of shit that doesn't matter in life and really is an indoctrination rather than an education.
Well, it wasn't like that before World War II, I think, or before World War I.
No, it was not. It was mostly male teachers too. When they released women into the workforce, one of the first places that they went was into teaching because it's an easy job. Look, women dominate easy jobs where there's air conditioning. Basically, if you want to see where women work, find where there's air conditioning, and it will be dominated by women.
Not too cold though.
Whatever. Yeah, they will actually wear sweaters. They'll be inside in the air conditioning in sweaters. If you ask them to go outside, they're like, "Oh no, it's too hot." You're wearing a sweater. Yeah. Anyway.
And one thing I also wanted to mention was the fact that because of feminism, because of the breakdown of the family, because women are competing with a very hypersexualized market of older women who missed the boat and the incoming newer women, now they have to, even if they had like morals and values and stuff, they have to put out sooner just to be competitive in a hypersexualized market.
That's also true. They also bring it into the workplace. which is fucking wrong. DL Saint, I see you, brother. I'm sorry, I've been distracted. I'm not really paying attention to the chat because this is not my stream. This is Kat's stream. Everybody like, subscribe, do all that stuff for Kat. Kat really needs it, and she deserves it. She's a good person. So hit all the buttons, all right? All of them. So I'm sorry. Yeah, but DL, I do see you there, man. We'll talk maybe tonight. Maybe I'll have you on tonight, and we'll it's chill stream tonight, so we're gonna keep it light. You understand? Otherwise, Cat will get mad, and nobody likes an angry cat. So, but anyway, yeah. Sorry, I went way off the. I just wanted to recognize that this fellow had come in. You had left, Cat. He came into the stream late last night, and we had a great conversation. So it was really, really good. He's on the opposite side of the aisle. He is a leftist. He is probably a feminist. I don't know. You could ask him. But we had great.
We need one of those. Does he want to come in?
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would. He's very well spoken.
Nice.
So I'm restreaming this to my stream, and that's why we're getting all of these weird people over here.
Cool. So, yeah. I know, like, well, actually, Nick has a daughter, but like, imagine if all of you guys had daughters and they had to go out into this hypersexualized marketplace to try to find a decent guy. What would you be telling them advice-wise as far as sex goes and relationships?
I'll go ahead and go. I see the concern on Casper's face.
No concern. I was just respect for the elders. You know what I'm saying?
Respect his elders. But you look older than me.
What are you talking about? I look 20. I got accused of being 20. I can't remember when. It was like one of the streams.
That's because you're the friendly ghost.
What can I say?
Yeah. All right. So what I would say to a daughter, I don't have a daughter, I have a son. I'll tell you what I've told my son. I've said this many, many times. Never be alone with young girls. They lie. Little girls lie. If there's two of them, definitely never be alone with them because they will lie for each other and you will be in trouble. That's exactly what I told him. And DL Saint, he needs a link and he'll jump in. And he has a daughter. He's a leftist with a daughter. He's perfect. And so I would what I would tell her is to do her best to find someone through the church. That school is an okay place to have friends, but not necessarily the dating pool that you want to be in. And hopefully with some guidance from my wife, who is a relatively strong female role model, then that would help. So my wife my wife's very, very strong. So and she really actually wants a girl. Unfortunately, probably not going to happen. So, but there's always adoption. Keep floating the idea. Because I don't want to be 10 years from now, she's going to be like, we could have had a little girl. See, I can't see the future, but I can estimate. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
all right, your turn, Casper.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, from my end, it's just all you have to do is explain to her how virginity at 18 years old is literally like being a billionaire. You know what I mean? Like I said, once she has that, then the whole kind of like female manipulation tricks and all that kind of shit, like she'll do the rest. You know what I mean? So, like I said, like main thing is like so long as you marry the right woman, you should be fine. She should be able to give her the inside tips and tricks that maybe a man, dare I say, a man like myself may not know. But like I said, like I've seen enough kind of like women to know that like they know their place around kind of like being able to control men emotions, all that kind of shit. So I like I said, I don't buy the whole kind of like innocent, like, you know, Snow White kind of like princess, Disney princess kind of shit. Like that's that to me is just like level one, and then there's like multiple levels to this shit as well. So yeah, like I said, it's kind of, yeah, they're hypersexualized, but they just need to remember that, like, if they're anything or like just like focus on the game, or kind of like if they have like any sort of like priorities or anything like that that was drilled into them by their father, they should be realistically all right. Because like I said, just ignore the feminism and realize like the actual value that you have. The blast.
You want to take it, Nick, or no?
I mean, I would try to explain things to her, try to explain, look, this is what will probably happen if you go that route. And it looks really appealing now. It looks like those girls are getting a lot of attention, and you know, they're really popular. But you know, this is what that'll lead to. I'll try to explain that, but in the end, you know, they do what they want to do. They end up doing what they want to do anyway. So you can talk to them, you can try, but at the end of the day,
I see disagreement in Kat's face.
It's her choice. It's, you know, it's her life. It's her body, her choice. So when I'm not around, she's gonna do whatever she wants anyway.
So always be around.
So, Kat, lower the boom. I can just see it in your eyes.
I don't know. You know, a lot of my friends that went down a bad path, it was because of their father not being around, not being involved enough, just not caring, or very, very little communication about these things. And, you know, if you don't do that for your daughter, don't give them male nature. Don't tell them this is how it works. They're going to say, I love you. They're going to say this. They're going to say that just to get what they want. If you don't tell a girl that when some idiot goes, I love you, sleep with me, I'll take care of the kid if you get pregnant, and she's stupid enough to believe it, that's your fault. You need to tell them these things. Women do not know that. Women are so gullible. They think if a guy kisses them or says that they love them, that it's for real.
Are you sure that's true for all generations?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, kids these days are a little more precocious. They're you know, on the internet, they're aware of a lot more than we were when we were kids, I think.
I mean, the internet is so vast, and you can be in a little tiny niche of just like, I don't know, anime cartoons or something, or you could be another niche of just like roadblocks or whatever the hell they're into. You're not going to see the whole internet. People don't search for these things. And if they are, it's because they've been burned.
Well, yeah, but there'll be clips on it. You know, you'll find stuff where people kind of make jokes about it and stuff. It's in the culture. It's common knowledge, I think.
I definitely do not think it's common knowledge. It's never been common knowledge. If people say common knowledge for things that are never common knowledge.
Gonna trigger Kat.
No, it's true, because you got to talk to people. You can't just assume everything. Like, I have conversations with my husband. Did you tell her about this? Did you tell her about? And he's like, oh, she knows. She has friends. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You have to say everything, every little detail. My dad sat me down.
I will go with that. Yes. You have to be line by line. I will do that. I mean, and I do that with my son all the time. And even when I think he has something, I end up having to repeat it 2 or 3 times. So I'll give you that. Kat, I have to do a hard out in about, I'd like to do like 5 more minutes, but
no worries.
But I got to jump out. I was hoping DL would jump in real quick. He's a super cool dude. If I'm gone when he comes in, tell him we'll talk tonight, and he can find me on help him find me on Discord. You can track me down.
Cool.
Arthrodia, I have to scroll up here. I saw that Arthrodia has called me out on not pulling my kid out of his gay pride preschool and homeschool him. We're working on getting him into the good Christian preschool down the street. Right now he is at home because we don't need him to be there in preschool. So because it's now summer, so hopefully we'll get the bump for the preschool that we want them in. If not, then we have to reevaluate and come up with another answer. Because I really don't foresee him going back to the existing one. Because they woke as fuck. And we can't have that. No.
All right, so I feel like Teriak is kind of bored or like spaced out.
No, what? This is
He hasn't
discrimination.
had enough pot this morning.
Yeah, is that it? Is this an intervention? Is that what this whole thing's all about? Intervention for
Could
Teriak?
be. You want it to be?
You motherfuckers.
Yes. That's okay. It's okay. Look, it's for your own good, you degenerate.
Like I said, like in terms of like my end, like I said, it's kind of like, yeah, like like girls will talk, like there'll be rumors around, all that kind of thing. It's just about kind of, like I said, making sure that you're there in the life, like not that you're like constantly like over their shoulder every 2 seconds, but you're just basically kind of like just letting them know, it's like, listen, this is what this actually means, and this is what this actually means, and yeah, like Kat was saying, it's like, this is what boy game looks like. It looks like they will be lovable, they'll act all like lovable and shit like that, and you'll think that they'll give you the world, but you gotta train your daughter to be able to look for, like, hey, don't basically ignore what the guy says, look what he does. Look at his actions. Look at his decisions that he makes in life. So, like, for example, if he spends his, like, all of his paycheck on some rims, he ain't going to be spending that money on the kids. Do you know what I mean? And it's like the same thing in terms of, like, even with the wealthy, like he's all wealthy on his stuff, but he, like, are you one of, like, let's say 10 girls that he has? You got to be able to deduce that, or be able to ask yourself those questions. And like I said, just being able to put those questions in her head as a father is at least your kind of part. But like Kat was saying as well, like the mother would be able to kind of give, explain like biological things and all that kind of stuff as well, you know.
That was a great freeze, by the way.
Really?
It froze really. It was perfect till your mouth was open. You're like, it was great. It's awesome. I agree with you. I mean, here's the thing. I think that we're skipping over, right? And then I'm going to make a couple of comments on let's go. The one thing we're kind of skipping over is that the biggest. It doesn't matter who he is when he's 16 or 17, even 18, unless he's in the Midwest and is like, a farmer dude that works the farm with his dad and just is basically a man at 16. If he's just a normal dude in high school, that guy's not going to support anything. He's not. So don't do that. That's bad. That's dumb. Even 18, 19, 20-year-olds getting into college, it's just bad. Like, there's no good. So there's no point. I mean, it doesn't matter what he says. He can't. He physically can't do the right thing because he has no resources to do that. He's still working at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or somewhere, like he's not going to have the resources. Now, I will give the nod to the guy, because I know some guys out there in the Midwest that work farms with their family, and they understand money. I mean, I think I told you guys, there's actually a guy down the road from me. I think he's like 18. That dude's already he owns a concrete pump business. He bought a $70,000 pump truck rig for like he just went out and bought it in cash because of the work that he had already done, and he makes serious money. He's like 18, 19 years old. If that dude said, I'm going to take care of you, I've got the money, I've got the resources, all right, you can believe that dude. But he's like one out of like 10,000 stupid ass motherfuckers in this town in high school that do not have his work ethic, do not have his background, do not have his upbringing. So I'm just saying, Anyway, DL, what's up, buddy? You're coming in right as I have to go. I like the hat, man. The hat's cool.
Hey, man, I'm a big fan of Pat, man. I got a lot of respect for PBD.
Yeah. Okay. I just like the red hat. So.
This is a valuetainment hat. And I was like, Patrick Bet David, I thought you recognized that.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to meet the guy, real cool dude. I just wanted to say, have no fear. Your local feminist slant leftist is here, I guess.
That's
This
right.
man has
That's
said
right.
I'm like a leftist and a feminist. So good to see you, bro. I'll catch up with you tonight for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I apologize. I'm pretty sure my wife is back. She took my son had a swimming class this morning, my youngest son. And I'm sure she's back. I'm wondering where I am. And I did attempt to
You're
tell
doing
her
man stuff. Don't, hey, just tell her, hush, woman, hush. Go make a sandwich. That's what you're supposed to say, right?
I would say that, but first I have to go find her to say that. I can't do it, but there's
Okay,
no telepathic link. We didn't get the implants, so we're not linked like that. But yeah, it's I've got to go. I got to go let her know what's up, and I've got to. Sorry, I've got like 4 things going on.
Yes, we're old. We can't do more than 1.5 things at once.
That's
After
right.
that,
1.5. I got. That's right, man. That's right. So, Kat, this is DL Saint. He argues in good faith. He is very smart. Do not let your guard down. I don't really know Nick. I don't know if he's in. I don't even know where he's at. Teriak is an Irishman. You don't hold that against him. And as you're not going to understand anything he says anyway. So, but be aware, he is a memester and he will meme you. So I'm just going to leave you with that.
Oh, okay.
To everybody else, I'm going to leave the stream running. I'm just going to turn my camera off so that this is restreamed on my channel. And you guys just turn it off when you leave. And I will I'll catch you guys later. So.
All right. Take care.
Yep. Thanks.
That's what's up.
So
That's what's up.
DL,
Pleasure meeting everybody. How you guys doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So if you
So,
want to tell us what you maybe disagreed with, any of the things you've heard us say, feel free.
I was hearing bits and pieces. We're gonna have to do a quick recap because I was hitting your Instagram, I was YouTube, and I was doing all this other stuff. I was taking my headphones off, so forgive me. I didn't catch everything. But for the record, I am not a leftist. I don't think I qualify these days. They've changed the standard. I'm not quite a leftist. I am, full disclosure, I live in Central Florida. I moved here from California. Once I touched on the ground, I became a registered Republican. Right. So I got the paperwork to prove it. But I'm not a Trumper. I'm not a Trump guy. So people don't know how to distinguish the two. Former military, I'm a retired air traffic controller. I used to jump out of airplanes to do America's business. I've gone to war. I've done all that. I've done all the hood stuff I could do inside of 4 years. I'm older. I was in the military in the 1990s. I fought in the original Desert Storm, the first one. You guys probably read about it in the books, maybe. I don't know. It's been some since. I grew up. I'm from the Midwest. Grew up in the Midwest. We grew up on the other side of the tracks. Didn't have a lot. Didn't need a lot. Yes, I did come up in the streets. Maybe or maybe not. I had a couple run-ins with the law. We don't know. Hey, I'm just gonna thank God for the statute of limitations. But I like to consider myself a realist. I like to consider myself a realist. I am a full-time comedian, and my number one job is I am a single dad and I have a teenage daughter. So when you guys were talking about, how do you prepare your daughter for this world? Yeah, I got a couple ideas on that. I can tell you what I'm doing with my beautiful little girl. So I just want to give you guys all that now. Fire away. Feel free.
Well, start with that. Tell us how you would talk to your daughter with this like hypersexualized world where, everything that's going on now.
I use every tool available to me. And I talk to my daughter to prepare her for the world as it is today, not for a world that people want the world to be. I think that's very, very important. Luckily, my her papa was a player back in the day. I know the game. I know the lingo. So I'm constantly feeding her the game that these young boys are going to be feeding her when they see her. So it's not new to her. Of course, the guy's going to tell you you're beautiful because you are. Of course, you're beautiful. You're my daughter. You come from a line of very beautiful people, right? This is what I'm telling my daughter. Whenever I see her, she knows she's loved. My daughter's not looking for validation anywhere other than from right here. So she doesn't really care about the little stupid boy who gets all the attention. My daughter's a nerd. She's an anime girl. She plays the trombone. I love all that. But it just buys me a little more time to prepare her. Now she's going into high school now. Like just, when summer's over, she's going to be going to high school. So we stepped the game up a little bit. So now we have to talk about the birds and the bees. A very uncomfortable conversation. We have to talk about OF. We have to talk about sexualizing your body for attention. We have to talk about what's good attention, what's bad attention. These are things that are hard to talk about, but you got to do it because you got to prepare your child. She's going to hit it hard. They're coming after her. And we got to talk about her little girlfriends that she's going to meet. They're going to be after attention. You got to stay away from some people. You don't want to be in these situations where this little fast little girl over here might bring you to some boy's house. There's a bunch of other boys there and you feel trapped. So you have to understand. And we have to talk about the fact that she's going to get curious. All these parents are out here like, my daughter's a little angel. Yeah, she sure is. And she showed me all of her wings, if you get my drift, when I was coming up. Those were the girls we preyed on the most. The preacher's daughter, oh my God, them were the ones. The girls in church, them were the ones. So I have to give all this knowledge to my daughter in a way that, one, she can understand, and two, is not overwhelming. And she has to let me know what she's dealing with. So that's where I start. I use Instagram. I use social media. She knows her dad is on a podcaster, and we talk about episodes. There was an episode where a YouTube content creator had Jasmine Jafar. I don't know if you guys know who she is. You know who she is.
Yeah.
And this content creator was like praising her to the high heavens and how every woman should look up to her and every little girl should be like her. Go to college, go to undergrad, go to grad school, do your 3 years of summer associate work, pass the bar, become an attorney, and then do OF. That doesn't make any sense. And I had to talk to my daughter about that because I was sitting there, I was watching. I know my daughter's listening. I had to talk to my daughter about that the next day. Like, hey, here's this lady's Instagram. What do you think of this woman? And we had to talk. What do you think about selling your body for money? What do you think? What would you do something like this? And the key is you have to have a relationship with your child to where they're not going to necessarily lie to you. They have to be comfortable enough with you to know that they're not going to get punished for telling the truth. And we've established that, like, look, if we talk about it, you're not in trouble if you tell me, but if I find out later, I got something for you. And she understands that. So I'm going to tell my dad, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking about doing. And that's very important. And so I know it's a very long-winded way of saying that I am going to approach this thing head on and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to let my daughter know that little boys are going to take their little boy thing and they want to insert it in the little girl thing. You know what I mean? So this is how you avoid that. And we talked about babies. So, and it's an ongoing conversation. It's not like we just had one talk and it's over. We talk about this weekly.
Yeah. When my daughter was 8 years old, I was in the playground in elementary school and I'm overhearing a little girl, maybe 7, talking about how she can't wait till she becomes 18 so she can do OnlyFans. 7 years old. Oof. And and when I hear parents say, I'm waiting until high school to tell her, I'm like, it's gonna be too late. They like as soon as they get a phone, as soon as their friend gets a phone.
As soon as their friend gets a phone. My little one is 5'5", 122 pounds. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's still growing. If I were to wait till high school, I'm gonna wait till what? Sophomore, junior year? It's too late. I probably already, someone will be sending me pictures. Hey, is this your daughter? This is her OF account. Like, what? She don't even have a smartphone, but her friend has one.
Exactly. And yeah. And the little boys too, they're starting younger and younger. As soon as somebody gets a phone, it's the first thing that they find. And then that's it. Once they see it, they'll do anything to get a little girl to agree. Anyways, so is there anything that you feel is maybe a little bit more center left that you believe
you know, our political structure right now, I'm one of those guys just, hey man, let's just blow it all up and start from scratch. The left, the right, the center left, the center right, the far left, the far right, all controlled by the 1%. Until we take money out of politics, until we get term limits, until we take the incentives away from being a lifetime professional politician, we're never getting out of this hole. You know, you have people mad at Trump. You know what I mean? Say what you want to say about Donald Trump. Say what you want to say about Joe Biden. They did the exact same thing. That's the thing that upsets me the most. Why are we in this financial situation? Why is it we're about to go into some hurt that America hasn't seen since the 70s and 80s? You know, like our economy is about to go through some serious problems, right? Why? Well, because both of the administrations and both of those Congresses spent like drunk sailors. Both of them did. Almost exactly the same amount of money. And now you want me to vote for one or the other? It sucks, right? It just sucks. Why is it that people on this platform aren't the folks who are representing us in, you know, in DC and more importantly, locally? Why is it that, you know, Sister Kat or Brother Nick, you know, Brother T over here, he's in Ireland, so it's a little bit different. But why is it that these two people can't get to these elected offices to do what's best for their friends, their families, their cities, their states, their congressional districts? Is because they can't get the money that it takes to get there. You know, millions, if you know, tens of millions of dollars to get a seat. Who has that kind of money laying around? And where you go get it from? You get it from the people in the 1%. And you're going to do what they tell you to do, or you're going to lose your seat. So, I mean, so as far as center left, center right, all that, I don't know where I fall on the spectrum these days. I want to burn it all down, right? That's what I want to do. But in the meantime, I still got to participate.
Yeah. One of the things I was saying before is, before we had the feminist movement and pushed all women into having to work, they would work on the local government, and they didn't want to pick a side. They didn't want to pick a team. They're just like, we're not about that. Let the men do that. We are just here to do what's best for the community, whatever it may be. And they would have the time and the space to go and pressure local government to do what they needed to get the community better. And now with everybody super busy working, homework after school, all the garbage, there's nobody in a family with the time to go and do these things, that unless you're forced to, like, for example, they were going to do something to take away some rights for specific medical providers. All the medical providers found this out and they're like, this is dire. We have to do it by this date. They called, pressured them. It was dropped immediately. We don't have any sort of system where we can get all the women or all the men or anybody or all the parents to go and do that, because there is just nothing to get them to pay attention to it. Nothing is dire enough. Little things happen. They don't know what's going on. They're not informed. And then we have all these policies that are destroying everyone, and there's nobody with the free time to stop it. That's what I'm saying.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But there are always those out there who step up when they need to step up. You look at Florida. I'm not a DeSantis guy either, by the way. But the changes they made to their family court system, when the state of Florida now believes it's in the child's best interest to have equal access to both parents, that's a very good thing in a very bad world. Like the system is set up the way the system is set up. Yes, it's best to have mom and dad in the same house. I think that's the best way to do it. But, you know, what's going on in California, New York, and the rest of the country is just outrageous. Monetizing children, that's absolutely evil. That's the kind of stuff that they would send the 82nd Airborne Division and guys like us in the 18th Airborne Corps to go fight. And here it is right here in America. We monetize children. We make it to where one parent is incentivized and is paid to keep the child away from the other parent. So I think slowly these things are going to change, you know, mandatory DNA testing, you know, default 50-50 custody. All this chips away at what? The money. Everything in America revolves around the money. To your point, Sister Kat, people are out there working. Everyone's on that rat wheel, that hamster wheel. They don't have time to take care of the most important things. You guys were talking about education. I live in one of the best school districts in my area, and my daughter knows absolutely nothing. She tests very well. She can pass any test, but she doesn't know anything. Name 3 countries on planet Earth, and she can't do it. So what are we doing? I'm not mad at the word. I bought a map, stuck it on the wall right outside of her bedroom, and every day, name 3 countries. And the first day I did this, and it was because of YouTube I did it. I was watching some YouTube video of some guys on a college campus asking these college-age kids, grown-ups, really, to name 3 countries, including the one they live in, and they couldn't do it. College, you're paying. You're paying to be there. You don't know this. So I asked my daughter one day, she got in the car, and I just, hey, name 3 countries. She had a full-blown panic attack. She was 7th grader at the time. Full-blown panic attack. Calm down. Hey, calm down. I had to calm her down. And I was like, if you don't know, just tell me you don't know. You're not going to be in trouble. This is no pressure. We're just talking. And then she finally calmed down, and she's like, Papa, I can't name 3 countries. And I'm like, I bet you can. You're just not thinking. Got to teach you how to think. And she's like, no, Papa, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't name 3 countries. I'm like, what country are you in right now? I'm in the USA. What does that stand for? United States of America. That's a country. That's one. What country is your mom from? All right. And she's, well, mom's from Mexico. All right. That's a country. That's 2. What country is your best friend family from? They're from India. I thought you said you couldn't name 3 countries. Right. It was just that simple. And then her eyes lit up, and she's like, in her mind, she's like, oh, I'm not dumb. Like, no, you know a lot. We just have to bring it to the surface. Now, she should have been able to nail 3 countries right off the rip. 7th grader, 7th grader in middle school. And, so we have a serious problem with our educational system. And to your point, people can't work on those problems because they're too busy trying to make money, because the economy is having some problems right now, right? So I think there's always going to be those people in the background who are going to make the tough call and do the heavy lifting, and just hold it up just long enough for everyone else to come and help them, when we get to that dire point. But so many people are giving up too. But our kids just don't know Americans don't know how to think anymore. This is why I love YouTube. It forces us to think. We have these conversations and people can start thinking, as opposed to just screaming and throwing slings and arrows back at each other. And we wind up in the same hole that we've been in for I don't know how long now.
Teriak, do you think that when you talk to people around your age, or I don't know, you probably date 20-year-olds, right?
That'd be a preference, but at the moment, I've given up on dating because, like I said, it's just a bad game in modern day. But yeah, like you're saying, sorry, speaking to people around my age.
Yeah. So have you noticed that they know everyday things that, like what country they're in, what's going on in the world, whatever?
Like it depends on the person. Like typically a guy would be able to do that kind of right off the bat. But yeah, like like people are getting like dozy nowadays, or kind of like hazed, I'd say is the main thing. I think it's probably leading to other conversations as well, but like the food and all that kind of thing. So I think like that's playing an aspect to it, which I don't think is on purpose. I don't think it's by accident. But yeah, like just kind of just general knowledge, just logic is one thing as well. I think is not being taught, which is a crime. You see the likes of Andrew Wilson, and also what's the guy he got fired? Oh fuck, I forgot his name. Black-haired guy, he got fired for talking about the J.K. Rowling being transphobic with a student, and the student was like, "Oh, J.K. Rowling's transphobic," and he basically walks, "Okay, what did he say? What did she say that was transphobic?" And he basically, it's like a 10-minute video. But regardless, anyway, like we need more people like that are willing to take the bullet and say, no, this is what logic is. This is what makes sense. The rest of this is either just emotions or propaganda or whatever. So yeah, like logic is probably the main foundation for me. And you can like stem from that. You have your mathematics, science, and then you have other things as well, like philosophy and things which what you need to. But yeah, like it's just kind of like one of those things where like sometimes you can get caught off like name 3 books, name kind of like this thing, or name a fruit without the letter A in it, like things like that. Like these are all good like thought exercises that you can just do whenever you're bored and things like that, which kind of like DL was saying, it gets you kind of training with the mind and like things like Sudoku and crossword puzzles are a good thing to use as well, because that again is kind of it's just training your mind to like think about different words and how phrases match up with them and all that kind of thing, you know.
So I know Nick's has been dating like 20-year-olds for a couple decades now. So have you noticed that they're getting progressively less intelligent at all?
I don't know. Because like you change, so how do you know? It's all relative. I think there were plenty of dumb 20-year-olds when I was 20. But I do get the sort of feeling lately that yeah, people are getting dumber in general. Not dumber necessarily, but willfully ignorant. You know, like they don't even mind. I think that people used to be ashamed of being ignorant about certain things, and now they're almost proud of it in many cases. You know, or they're totally apathetic. They've accepted, they've resigned to the fact that they don't know, and it's not important because they've got Google anyway, right? So maybe that's what it is. We've got this crutch, so we don't really need to know anything. We don't need to memorize anything anymore. We just kind of rely on the internet. The internet knows it for us. We don't need to know 3 or 4 countries because we've got Google Maps. I guess that's the mentality. Except that's not true, because we definitely do need to know stuff just to be able to, you know, think for ourselves and like plan stuff out, make come to our own decisions.
Yeah, when you outsource everything you think and you know, you only think and know whatever they provide for you on the internet and an easy search. And if you don't know beyond that, you don't know when they're lying, when they're stretching the truth, when they're leaving things out. You don't know. You have no idea.
One thing I've noticed is that music has gotten lamer, you know, like mainstream music. And I think that for like 30 or 40 years, kids' music would scare their parents. And now I don't think it's scary. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think, DL? I mean, do you find your daughter's music scary? Like it's like offensive or aggressive, or is there anything that you don't feel comfortable with her listening to? I don't think that happens very much nowadays.
No, my daughter's on that Bo Barham. Is that the guy? Like she's in that vein of music. It's kind of what we would call alternative when I was coming up. You know, it's kind of like a variant of that Dr. Demento type stuff. You know what I mean? Oh man, I forgot y'all ain't old like me. It's it's like a different variant of music. So she's so far away from mainstream. She doesn't like mainstream stuff. She doesn't like hip hop. She doesn't like the pop stuff. The stuff that she listens to is real eclectic, I guess, for her. So I'm not afraid of it. No, but there's some swear words in it. Like there might be some like the subject matter might be very adult. But here's the thing: there's no shielding your children from this. Now I could sit there and get mad at her and yell at her and take away her computer or something like that, but she's gonna continue to hear this stuff anyway. And I used to listen to that stuff when I was her age, way worse. I came up in the, when hip hop, I saw hip hop, from the beginning to where it is now. And even hip hop music isn't that scary. I mean, setting the drill stuff aside, but like it's not, these guys, I think there's a level of intelligence needed to create amazing music because it's an art form. I don't think you could be a dummy and come up with something that people are going to be listening to for eons. Right. I don't think the Beatles, you could say anyone would say that the Beatles were dumb. Like, I want to hold your hand. Okay, that got them there, but then they came with everything else. Right. When you look at everything else they came with. I mean, maybe Ringo, okay, you want to make this one exception. Maybe Ringo was a little bit on the slow side. I don't know. But he still made great music too. You look at the original hip hop guys, you look at African Bambaataa, you look at like Curtis Blow, you look at Melly Mel and those guys, they made art. Like hip hop has always been the window to what's going on in the hood, but now that's changed. Now
that's what I mean.
They're rapping about doing drugs. Yeah.
There's no longer a threat of subversion or anything like that. I don't think that I mean, like if I were in the government, I'd be very happy about our times, because there's nothing in the music or in the culture that's in the mainstream culture. I mean, yeah, it's there, it's out there, but it's all sort of broken up. You have to go looking for it. There's plenty of really good music now and really thought-provoking stuff everywhere, but you need to go find it. The mainstream isn't like it used to be. The mainstream isn't where you're going to find, like subversion or thought-provoking anything. It's not going to lead to a revolution ever in a million years. Taylor Swift isn't going to incite any kind of, thinking.
But when you look at like a lot
But
of
she will. Sorry, bro.
Just to add in, like when you look at like a lot of the mainstream, like the performances and all the stuff lately, it's all demonic. It's all like women like doing sexual acts on stage, like Madonna stuff and all that. Like it's all like depraved shit, basically. You know what I mean? But the fact that it's like all this kind of like non-mainstream stuff is getting popular is because the majority doesn't want any of this demonic shit. They want the actual, like you're saying there, the intelligence, the actual, like, tell me what your life, it's a story of life essentially, or the sound of life is what music is. You know what I mean? So they want the story from it. They don't want, like some sort of sex act or something like that,
Can anybody name
You're
a
too
single?
young to remember it.
Wait, sorry, Terry.
I was gonna.
I didn't. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I hear what you're saying, but you was talking about Madonna, right? Like when you go back in the day, again, you guys are too young to remember this, but I remember Madonna on the MTV Music Awards wearing a white wedding dress, laying around in the most seductive, throwing her legs open, singing like a virgin. And that goes to Brother Nick's thing. That scared the hell out of people. That shook the world. Now you got, look at these rappers, Pound Town and Sexy Red and WAP and all this. It's degeneracy. So so one shocked the world and made people think, and it was very, very smart. What Madonna did was very, very smart. She knew what she was doing. But now you look at what's going on now, and it's empty. I
got an example for you, Tarek. I've got an example for you. Sinead O'Connor, right, ripping the picture of the Pope, right? That sent shockwaves, right? Like that got people's attention. Do you think that would happen nowadays? Do you think that would really be in the mainstream now? No. Someone that big? Do you think someone would take that chance now? No one would do anything like that. I'm not saying it was a good thing to do, but still, it's like that the mainstream used to be a place where people could do stuff like that. And I think now it's just totally tame and totally safe. And that's not where you're going to find stuff that's going to push people's buttons. I mean, yeah, you'll find plenty of vulgar, like lewd stuff. That's always going to be there, but that's safer than what I'm talking about. I don't see that as a threat in any way to like the status quo. Do you see what I mean? It's like think of the 60s. Look at the 60s, all that protest music. Do you think that would happen today if we had a big war or anything like that? I don't think that would happen today, because the people in control of all the major radio stations and the main like networks, I don't think they would allow for that.
They don't want change, they want distraction.
Yeah, it's just distraction. That's exactly what it is. It's like 1984. They had the versificator or whatever it was called. In fact, it is absolutely like that, because now we've got AI making music. I don't know if you've heard about Spotify using like AI to make loads of music. It is literally like 1984, where you have machines making these crappy pop songs just to keep people kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just like kind of numb. Yeah, just sort of like
I mean, keeping them sedated, right? Who was that? Was that the Ramones? I want to be sedated. All that's gone, but that's where we are now. We're living in the world that they were warning us against.
Yeah, sorry, I know we went off on a tangent. You started off on feminism, and I took it somewhere different.
Feminism. Feminism. There's definitely, in my opinion, a war on the nuclear family, on family in general, here in America, here in the West. I don't know what's going on in Ireland. I don't know what's going on in Australia. I got friends over here. I'm hearing some stuff. Same thing in Europe. So it's definitely there's a war on that, right? And this third wave feminist movement is, they're carrying the banner, like they're the ones rushing into the breach. And it's like, to what point? Like, what are we doing here? like who benefits from women being independent and having their own stuff and spending their own money? Corporations, because women spend more than dudes do, right? So when you bring us together, we can save, we can have meaningful relationships, we can have our families. But if you break us apart, people are going to spend more money. You got to have two places to live, either two houses or apartments or whatever. You got to buy, you're spending all your food together. That's all these bills. There's no way to come together. Now, I think that this correction that we're steaming into now, this storm, this financial storm America's steaming into, I think it's gonna force feminists to just leave that feminism behind and find a dude and get together and so they can live. I think it's gonna wind up doing that. I think you're gonna have a lot of people getting into relationships in the West because they have to. It's either that or being homeless. And I don't care how many of them tell you if they're in the woods and they see a man or a bear that they'd rather see a bear. That's a lie. They're gonna want to see a dude, right? They're gonna want to be with a dude. But first wave feminism, I mean, I tip my hat to the first wave feminists. I wouldn't be here. They helped free my ancestors. That's what that was about. Second wave feminism, my body, my choice, and the right to vote. Okay, I can see that. But where we are now, what are they fighting for? And that's my whole thing. Like, what do you want? Like you got everything, and then some. So I think that this correction might help with that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Sorry, I'm not a feminist.
I think you're right. That's a good point, because when times are good, when there's plenty of money, people can afford to be really independent, and everyone just sort of goes their own way. And when times are tough, you kind of need the family unit again,
If you want to eat, right? Or do you want to live on it? You want to live in the cardboard box, or do you want to live in this broken down house that I'm putting together because I'm a man and I know how to fix stuff? Like, what do you want to do?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sister Cat, what are your thoughts? Because I'm new over here. I'm kind of figuring.
Yeah. No, I see a lot of people in my neighborhood moving in, and it's not a family, but it's like multiple single people together, huddling together to try to survive at this point. We got like 5 cars in a 3-2 tiny house that's meant for a small family.
And are they college students? Or how old are
they? 30s to 40s. They're single. It just didn't work out. So they're all like, this is where we're at now, which is crazy. And they have where they're buying single family homes and they're renting rooms out to people so that they can have a fake family feel.
How common is that? Would you say?
Is the term.
Looking around you, how common would you say that is?
I only know my neighborhood. There's about 100 houses here, and I would say there's 5 that are like that. But I mean, I've never seen that before. I've never seen adults. Five single family homes,
right?
Huh?
It's 5 more than you saw 10 years ago.
Yeah, I never saw any.
Right. Okay.
So, Sister Cat, you in Broward?
No, I'm in Miami.
You're down in Broward?
No, Miami.
Okay. Well, like that's Miami, because that's like Broward
County. Dade County.
Yeah, Miami-Dade.
Sorry, Dade County. My bad. You're in the Dade. I got Broward stuck in my head. I'm sorry. Thank you for forgetting. Old man moment. My bad. You down in the Dade. What you're experiencing is new to Miami, is new to Florida. Talk to anybody who lived in LA in the past 15 years. That's normal. That's normal. You want to know what your future looks like here in Florida, especially down there in Dade County and Broward County? Look at what's been going on in Southern California. That's what's coming here, right? And out there, it's not single people, it's families moving into one house. You will have a full-blown mom, dad, and the kids, another group, mom, dad, and the kids, and they'll move into a 4-family house, blending these 2 families, because that's the only way they can survive. And like the thing with the cars, when you said that, I'm like, yep, that's what it's like. They call it house hacking, or this is a way to, save money. But what it really is the only way you can survive now. How much is a house down there where you are? And I'm sure it's expensive. Like the average house, the median home in America is what, 410,000 right now, right? The median home in LA County, it's got to be close to 700,000.
Yeah.
Right, with $6 a gallon gas, $6.50 gas for a premium.
Yeah, my house was maybe like $270 when I got it. It's a starter home. Supposedly this was supposed to be a starter home. Now it's like $800. How are you going to do? And it's not a couple. It's just a handful of years from that to that. How does that happen? We can't make that much money.
And how about salaries? How have salaries gone up?
The same. They haven't moved. Maybe like a hair up, but nothing.
Right.
You look at salaries versus profit margins. You know, all the graphs are out there. Going back to the 80s, salaries are like right here. Profits are like way up, record profits. So, but it's like what Sister Kat is saying. You know, people are like, yeah, my house I got $800,000 in equity in my house. A starter house? Are you serious? You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, sell it. Sell that house and go move, you know what I mean? Go move from Hialeah to Coral Gables, right? Go ahead and do that. But I can't because the ones in Coral Gables cost $2 million. Okay. So are you better off? I mean, it looks good on paper. And Peter Schiff was saying this. I was watching a video of Peter Schiff. He's like, hey, one of these days, one morning, we're going to wake up and all that paper money is going to be zeroed out. What then?
Yeah, I mean, I see that around now. But also I've noticed another weird thing now, because so many wealthy people have moved to the area. Now, jobs that were not very prestigious, like service jobs, housekeeper, childcare, like, you know, for wealthy families, now suddenly that's a high ticket item, and there's bidding wars, and there's like, you can get $200,000 to be a cleaner for like a wealthy family, one of these families that are moving in, and that's never been a thing. And you know, you used to make like 35, 50 tops for such a job, and now it's sky high. So things are they're just on their heads.
I didn't know about that. I didn't hear about that at all. So housekeeping, probably nanny, you're not a nanny anymore. You wake up now, you're an au pair, because nannies get paid $50,000, but au pairs get paid $250,000. I didn't think about that. That's a shock to the system. And then you got, you know, you got these people, snowbirds and whatnot, moving around. I think that this is a very exciting time to be alive. It's scary at the same time, because people are like, what are you going to do if you lose everything? Like, I ain't had nothing. Remember, I started with nothing, so I'm good. Like, I know how to hustle, but most people don't. I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as the Great Depression, but I think it's going to be worse than the Great Recession. I think it's going to fall somewhere in between the two. And I'm just curious to see how this is going to play out. The commercial real estate industry, we know that's blown up. We just wait for the shoe to drop on that. And, you know, regional banks are going under. Keep watching. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but there's a lot of regional banks in trouble right now. So I don't know, man. I might have to go over there with Brother T, man. What's it look like in Ireland, man? Can I get me a little flat or something over there?
Ireland's pretty bad. Like, we have a housing crisis at the moment, which does not help with the immigration crisis. But like even before that,
I have a clip. You want to watch? You want a video?
Yeah.
All right.
So how is it that for 11 years, mortgage rates, fixed rate mortgages, 15, 30 years, stayed under 5% for 11 years? And now all of a sudden they double the rates. Well, they doubled the rates. Guess what that did? It made people quit buying homes. It made people quit selling homes, because for 11 years they had 5% or lower rates. You have millions of people that have an interest rate that is literally less than 5%. And now you got 7.5%. And it doubled. It literally went from 3.5 to about 6 in about 3.5 months. That put the brakes on the housing market. It's slower than it's been that I've ever seen. And I've been doing this for 28 years. It's slow for title companies, mortgage companies. People aren't refinancing, people aren't buying. It is still a seller's market because there's just not a crazy amount of inventory. Will the housing market crash? No. Interest rates are 7.5%, which beats renting, which is 100%. But here's the deal. Now with all this NAR stuff that just came down the line and all these lawsuits, right? Like sellers are saying, I didn't know I was paying my real estate agent and my agent was paying that agent. And look, it's been that way for decades. But interesting enough, what has happened with all of this is now they're saying that a buyer, the home buyer, has to pay the agent. So you just took out the largest demographic of home buyers or first-time home buyers. The thing that's the hardest for people to come up with is actually the cash down payment. So you got closing costs, you got a home inspection, pay for the appraisal. Now I got to pay for a real estate agent, your down payment, your closing costs, the appraisal, the inspection. Now I got to pay for an agent. So that kind of makes buyers out there go, well, maybe I should hold off. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I shouldn't buy a house. Hell, I can't afford to buy a house if I got to pay an agent 2 or 3% of the purchase price of the house. So that's kind of what's coming down the line. On the flip side, you need to think about they doubled the rates, which slowed buyers down, especially first-time home buyers, priced people out of the market, right? Can't afford a house. Now, you've took out or added to, if you will, more money that they have to bring to the table. So you just took a huge pool, millions of home buyers, and shrunk that down. And it just so happens that the major corporations that are buying hundreds of houses on a daily basis, their same price range that they focus on is also that first-time home buyer price range. So it kind of goes back to they want you to rent, be happy, and own nothing. Starting to make sense.
Well, that shut everybody up. That's facts, folks.
It sure did. Hey, and that's what it looks like. Who benefits from that, though? Who benefits
Who
from
ultimately benefits from it?
Brother Brian won motorsports. Yes.
Who ultimately benefits from it? I'm getting a lot of echo. I've got something going on here. Something else open somewhere.
You sound perfect on this end, bro.
Yeah, no, it's
you
on
sound
my
clean.
end for sure.
Check your windows. You might. You probably had another window open.
Yeah, something.
Old people, man. What are you gonna do with us, man?
I know, man. What? Dang old technology. I'm very good with technology.
I can't figure out the talking box. The talking box is talking too much.
That's right. That's right. What did I just do? Wait a minute.
This is the best meme ever. I can't wait to see it, Brother T.
Yeah.
Meme this up.
Get that one. Yeah, he's got me. He's got my number. So the number one people that this helps are the banks. Actually, the number one people it helps is the government. The government, by doing this, they're going to collect taxes on every single transaction. And since the transactions are now higher than they've ever been before, and they're more frequent, those are more taxes paid. I don't think people realize that because every time they do something, there's taxes added. But you have to always keep that in mind. That ultimately the only way the government benefits is if they can charge you taxes. And they love to do it. They really do. So that's a number one thing. I think that's the ultimate way that they initially benefit. I think the second people that benefit is probably corporations or BlackRock, Sigma, a bunch of others. People that can actually afford it. And to a degree, people like me that are vultures sitting on the fence waiting for all of this stuff to crash and burn. And so that makes it work out for me. Ultimately, it does not work out for anyone that isn't wealthy in some form or fashion. It just doesn't. As has always been the case, the poor get poor, the rich get rich. and it's just how it goes. So I don't know if that's the answer you wanted.
Yeah.
That's the answer I got.
I'm just curious if the panel thinks, am I a leftist? Just curious. You guys heard me talk a little bit. Am I a leftist? I mean, it won't hurt my feelings. Tell me the truth.
I don't think so.
I think you're more of a centrist, to be honest. But
But you call me a leftist, man. Like, oh, I got my pinko leftist friend with the red hat on.
I did. Yeah, no, I'll take it back. I'll eat my words. I have no problem. I've been wrong before.
I'm a comedian, bro. So I'm going to just have to just keep laying it on because I'm a comedian. I'm building up my material here. When I come back to Cali, you're going to have to come to the show. I'm going to put you right there in the center. I'm going to have a good old time.
You going to be on the improv, bro? You going to be on the improv?
I'm a comedy store. I'm a comedy store guy.
Are you really? That's cool.
Man. Yeah. That's where I started. Sorry, guys. Sister Cat, you better take over.
All right. So, I know Nick has to go soon. So if you have to go now, it's cool.
No. 5 more minutes.
Okay, because you look a little depressed. I don't know if we depressed you.
You look depressed.
No, I'm not depressed. I'm good. But anyways. So,
Brother Nick, what part of the world you in, bro? Just curious.
Sorry? I'm from Miami, like Kat.
What part of the world?
I'm in Paris now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just in Paris.
Oh, look at y'all.
Yep.
Man, I'm on the wrong panel. You guys are Paris. You mean Paris, Texas? Y'all out in Paris, Texas?
No, Montmartre. Yeah.
And that's what's up, man. Good, because I lived in Miami for 3 years. I love Brickell. I've always loved Brickell. It's definitely changed since 2000, since 2012 when I left. But I love it down there. I'm sure once my daughter's done with high school, I'll be back in Brickell. I'll be there at least three months out the year, and then probably like maybe in France or Spain or wherever the rest of the year, just kind of traveling. That's my plan anyway. So that's what's up.
But yeah, we've got problems with housing here as well. It's probably worse here. If you look at square meters, like my apartment is 11 square meters.
11 square meters.
I noticed that with the hotel room.
Yeah.
How
we
big
use
is your
fractions
place?
over here, bro. Anyway,
Huh?
Teriak, how big is your place?
I don't know square meters by heart, but
Feet?
4-bedroom house,
Oh, okay.
3 bathrooms. Yeah, like I said, in Ireland, it's pretty much the same thing. Or like all over Europe, it's like the like the video you said there. It's where it's basically intentionally trying to price you out, because why are all these corporations buying homes? You know what I mean? So
well, electricity has doubled, by the way, more than doubled. I don't know about you, but here electricity is literally doubled.
Yeah, like that's the other thing. Like all these, like anyway, they like what Grid said. Anyway, they can't tax you. They will try to tax you. Like they start bringing in water charges and all the shit now into Ireland. So, like I said, it's getting bad out here. And then, like we said, it's kind of like why are we focusing on like whether or not a woman can kill her child? Like that's the top priority, but we're getting taxed out our ass just up front on the income, and then we have all these additional charges coming in underneath. You know what I mean? It's too much.
My question is, why don't most people have the sense to ignore that and talk about what really matters? Because people get it works on people. They get into a debate about that stuff instead of thinking, wait a minute, that's not important. Inflation is important. Like not being able to make ends meet is important. I don't give a shit about abortion right now. I'll that's way down my list of priorities. It's like way down at the bottom for me right now.
The problem then, though, is that like you get the feminist screaming in your face that you're a sexist or a misogynist or whatever because you won't take them seriously. But that's where I think we need more men that are comfortable with angry women, because that's what we're basically going to have, is just like angry Karens screaming in our faces, and we just have to smile away, boys.
Laugh at that. I just laugh. I laugh at them. You can't let
that
them
is a
bring
serious
it down.
problem. That is real though, brother. Even over here on this side of the pond, I don't deal. They're talking about how men are kind of just walking away. Some guys are just like leaving the country and going to other places looking for women. Some guys are just giving up altogether. They have an acronym for it. You know what I mean? And then there's some people like me who are I just kind of called my own number, and I'm sitting on the bench. I'm watching the game, but I'm not. I'm just kind of sitting here. I don't know if I'm ready to go back in yet. And it's because of the angry woman thing that you're talking about. It's not just the black thing. I know people are like, oh, you're talking about angry black women. I'm talking about angry women, period. Purple and pink haired ladies who think they can fight men. I'm talking about them. And, you know, it's getting to a point now where some of these women are finding out, you know, that famous phrase, fuck around and find out. I've seen women run up and punch a guy, and the guy turn around and hit her like a man. And it's like, I tell women all the time, quit thinking you can fight a man. Don't do it. I can fight a man. I can do it. Like, yo, this ain't even funny. Don't do this. He'll smash the side of your face in. Like, it's a different kind of strength over here. And men we've always been told not to. But now we got some guys, these guys have been raised by these angry women with the pink and purple hair who are telling their little boys it's okay to unleash your rage on some woman. Even if she hits you, hit her back as hard as you can. Now we're seeing that, and this is horrible. This is really horrible for our society. And you're right, all these little things are smoke and mirrors.
Andrew the link.
I don't know how to reach him.
Throw me the link. Put it in my. Oh, I've got it. I've got
Yeah,
it.
you got it.
Stand by.
I'm gonna say you gotta have it. You know, you gotta quit having these old man moments, man. You're making us look bad, bro. Come on now. You race cars, and I used to jump out of airplanes. Come on now. We're supposed to be the good guy, hard guy.
You used to jump out of airplanes.
So that's what airborne mean, bro. Jump out of airborne, jump out of airplanes into combat.
Perfectly good airplane, and you threw it away.
You know I'm an air traffic controller, right? You know I've worked 20 plus years with those perfectly good airplanes, watching what they do in the sky. All right, so me and you can have that conversation. I don't want to scare the flying public, but me and you can have this conversation later about these perfectly good airplanes.
Oh, I mean, I got some stories, bro. I got some stories.
I know you do, and but my point is this: if we start into
it, Kat's eyes will roll back in her head, and she gets really bored, and she'll start playing with her shrimp in the tank behind her. She doesn't like man prattle.
Is that what that is? But to brother Nick's point, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on out here, bro. Think about our school. We've all agreed that these kids aren't learning anything. The biggest problem with our school system, the way I see it today, is no one is taught to critically think. So you can't think your way out of stuff anymore. And people are just so happy with all the BS going on. I mean, we got families and single grown-ups moving into houses, living with strangers because that's the only way they can afford it. And they're not even mad about it. Well, it's like Friends. We're just going to be good. It's like a TV show. Nah, you too broke to be able to afford to sustain yourself. That's a problem. But they don't want to address the problem. They just want to sit there and, don't take away TikTok type shit, which I can't wait till they get rid of TikTok, man. I need to get a TikTok death counter, because that needs to go. Right? I'm sorry, y'all. It needs to go. Let somebody else come up with the platform.
Ticker in the
background. Meta has done the same.
Oh man, I gotta find it, bro. Help me find it.
Instagram has the same function now. You don't need to get rid of TikTok because even if you did, you'd still have Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna find more and more.
I want to get rid of TikTok.
Sorry.
I just don't want the people I train to kill on the battlefield to take all of this free intel from TikTok. Because once you agree their terms of service, they get into everything. They know where you shop. They know where you buy your ammo. They know what classes you've had. I'm sorry. I'm not. Look, got to get the CCP up out of our business, y'all. That's all. That's my whole thing.
Do you trust our government more with that information?
I trust the Second Amendment more. So if our government get too crazy, I can go ahead and grab my M14 and go deal with it. If it gets too out of pocket, Americans would do what Americans have always done. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Battle of Athens in Tennessee, 1946. If you're not familiar with the Battle of Athens,
I am. Andrew, welcome.
Look it up, you youngins.
This is not my podcast.
Yeah, but I have looked up the Battle of Athens. So that was an isolated incident in a single town where the National Guard was safeguarding the voting, which they were within their rights to do. They were just safeguarding the voting. That's why they were able to kind of move through that without having charges of treason against them.
it wasn't, to my understanding, it wasn't the National Guard. It was the guys who came home from the war
No,
who
it was
had
the
to step
National
up
Guard.
against a local
Where they
tyrant.
got their weapons from the National Guard
maybe
depot.
those guys armory. They took it from the National Guard armory, and they used those weapons
they were National
to take their
Guard.
business, which they were the good guys. Technically, I'm the National Guard. Once I got out, you're always on defense ready. Like
No. These were
call-out.
not irregular. They were regular, meaning that they were part of the army as the National Guard. So they were regular irregulars, not irregular. So I understand what you're saying. The distinction being everybody's a part of the militia even after they're out of the service. I agree with that. But what I'm saying to you is that these people were still in the service just as a reserve component. So they were getting paid by the U.S. government to be in the service.
We're going to have to go and look that up again, because the way I understand it from the articles that I read, these were guys who came home from the war and
That's
they had
true.
to depose a local dictator. And it wasn't just that town. It was a couple outlying. No, it was a couple counties. And this thing culminated in these soldiers, guardsmen, whatever you want to call them. I call them patriots, and their weapons, right? Their Thompson submachine guns, their BARs, their Garants, whatever they were able to get out that armory and their ammo, and the explosives, right? They took them out, and they had to literally blow up the jail, blow the doors off, get in there and remove the bad guys who were trying to, change the outcome of this particular election. And I mean, so my thing is, that's
because
great.
their
That's
job
what
was to
Americans do.
their job was to safeguard the election, but this is an isolated incident. Americans don't actually usually do this at all. In fact, they almost never do this. This is a very isolated thing to point at.
How do we become Americans in the first place?
Well, essentially,
how do we become Americans?
Well, essentially because there was a grouping of people who were dissatisfied with paying remittances to England. And so they were able to adopt a propagandist stance in order to push people against English taxation.
I get that. And they got their guns and they fought the biggest, baddest military on the planet. And they got the help from the French. Now, here's the thing. We don't want to hijack Sister Cat's
Why not?
platform. I would love to get into this.
Let's get into it.
Because I got respect.
Let's get down.
We can get into it on Brother Grind's platform, your platform, or whatever. I mean,
let's get into it on this platform right now. Why not?
Right now.
No time.
It's up to Sister Cat. She has to make the call. It's her call. I don't know if that's what she set out to do.
Cat, we good?
Perfect woman response. She said she gave the green light. So what are you saying? You're saying that Americans will not rise up if they get fed up. Is that what I'm hearing? Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew.
Yeah, that's what you're hearing.
All right, because I'm here
Can I give you my rationality behind it?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so here's my rationality behind it. The American government essentially locked up the American public. And while the American public was locked up, they allowed cities to completely become overrun. And Democrats allowed this by making sure that law enforcement, National Guard, who were localized to protect those cities, had to stand down. And police departments were being burned to the ground. And entire square blocks of cities were being annexed by what I would consider a terrorist organization, who then went on to consider them sovereign areas, meaning that we've annexed this, it's now ours, and they considered themselves to not be a part of the United States government any longer. There was no pushback really of any kind. So no, I think that as long as people have a full belly and they can go to work, it's really hard to get them in what you would consider the revolutionary spirit.
I hear where you're coming from. So I would agree with you. And then I would add to that, okay, coming soon, Americans won't be able to get food. Will you think then they'll go out, get their weapons and go hunt for food, or go call for change, or go remove those people who are getting fat on a hog?
Why do you think that Americans aren't going to have access to food? Like what signs have you seen for that? Because if it's one thing I know about big fat ass Americans, is that they have plenty of access to food, and that doesn't seem like it's going away, right? In fact,
Well,
maybe it would be
was
better
going
if
to-
Americans
to
had
your
less
points.
access to food.
It
When that
was
argument can be
going
made.
to your point. The argument you made. The point was, well, as long as they are fat, dumb, and happy, so to speak, so long as they have food. The argument I'm making, okay, take away the food. What then?
Yeah, I get it, but that's not going to happen.
This is your
Like,
argument.
they're
I'm just
just-
saying this is your argument.
Yeah, that is my argument, and part of the argument is because the descriptive is that that's not going to happen. You're not going to take away the food supply of the United States. We're such a massive exporter of it. This is one of those countries, interestingly enough, where if you were to go outside, you right now, sir, if you were to take your camera and go outside and hold up a sign which said just this: I'm not asking for any money whatsoever, but I haven't eaten in 2 days. You would probably have a meal delivered to you curbside in 20 minutes by a good Samaritan.
Or I'll get arrested for being a vagrant and loitering. That could happen as well. But you're right. One of the two could happen.
Yeah, I mean, but even the cops who came to arrest you, if you told them that you were a veteran, you're not asking for money, they would probably buy you a meal.
You have a lot of faith in people who and they're veterans. I mean, there's some good. I live in Hillsborough County. I like the Hillsborough County Sheriff Department. I really do. But hey, man, that's not always the case. I was in LA for a very long time. LAPD will put you on the street. Now you still get fed, right? You'll still get fed, up to your point.
You're gonna get fed.
You live in a country
Yeah.
where you're still
You're gonna get fed.
get fed. You'll just be, yep, but you're gonna get locked up. My point is this: there are enough Americans who, when they get to that point, wherever that point is, when they get to that point, like, you know, we were told the Boston Tea Party was the catalyst and da. But basically, a bunch of American men who were British at the time got fed up. They got tired of dealing with this silly ass king, and they were sitting around in the pubs drinking, and like, you know what, we gotta do something about this shit. And that will happen in America as well if we get to that point. And we're talking about a country where there are more firearms, there are more guns in this country than people. So like the folks out there doing whatever they're doing, who thinks for a moment that America won't lose their mind and just snap and grab their weapons and go do their thing, I think they need to think that through. I think it can happen.
Yeah, well, tell me what that
it
takes.
may happen.
Tell me what that takes. Because if it
Who
doesn't
knows?
take
I bet
if
you-
it doesn't
I bet
take
you
a
England didn't
massive
think-
if it doesn't take a massive lockdown and people actually running and rioting in the streets, destroying private property, and your own political establishment setting aside room for them to do that against the civilian population, what else could it take? Like, short of what? Like, what would it actually take for these men to go and get their guns and do this great overthrow that you're talking about? It seems to me like their threshold's pretty large, man.
It may be, but again, I just sit on the opposite side of that. I think when people reach a point, wherever that point may be, and you're making a great point there. Like the whole cough thing, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. You know, shutting down the economy, locking people in, and then turning around and paying those people for not going to work. That was crazy. But I'm pretty sure the nobles back in the day sitting in London was like, this tax ain't gonna make them mad. Let's do this. That tax ain't gonna make them mad. Let's take this land from them. Let's take that from them. Let's give them no representation. They kept
This
saying
is
that, right?
actually
Well, I guess
a
the bar is
really
pretty
bad
high.
way. Well, this is a bad way to look at history. What really happened in the Revolutionary War was that local magistrates who were government were actually fighting with another government. That's what happened. It was not the civilian population who just kind of were like, oh, let's grab our muskets and start shooting at these redcoats. It was localized governments who were fighting with a government which was thousands of miles away, so they had these massive advantages. But these were two governments fighting each other. Never get it twisted. This was not organic. It was propagandized, and it was localized governments trying to motivate people locally to come and fight for them on the behalf of fighting against the British. It was not organic at all. It was propaganda based. That's why the printing press was what they used more than anything and safeguarded more than anything, because it was a propagandized war against the British. It was not It wasn't like a bunch of rednecks were just like, man, take on the fucking government. You bastards, I'm tired of them taxing me without all this represent. That no, nothing like that ever happened.
Well, what about 2021? When
What about it?
People?
That wasn't organic either.
Okay, but I mean, it's something. Right?
Was it organic though? Or was it a massive op, which in turn led to the internment of hundreds of Americans, many of them without due process, in order to ferret out who the people who would do that would be. And the operatives at the top levels were supposedly conservative leaders. And interestingly enough, they were able to walk away with no charges while their followers got tons of them. It did not seem like any of that was organic to me.
As an Irishman, just as an outsider, there ain't no way I'm believing that there's a group of 1,000 Americans that want to overthrow the government. Not one of those motherfuckers brought a gun.
None of them.
Yeah, them boys.
That wasn't an overthrow.
Day,
that was holding some signs and being really upset. Ooh, they were upsetty spaghetti. What did that do? Nothing.
I'd tell you this. That, that absolutely was, like, call it what you want to call it. That was a violent attempt to stop an American process, right? That's what that was.
Where was the violence? There wasn't any violence.
I mean, I know people that were there. I'll interject on this one. I mean, I know people that were there, and it was not violent.
So breaking the windows and all that wasn't violent. Smashing people up.
Black Lives Matter did that every day as an order. Black Lives Matter did it every day as an order of operation.
About Black Lives Matter, bro. Just long before Black Lives Matter, man. Just life in the hood every day is violent.
Well,
it's just for someone to sit there.
But that goes to my that goes to my point. That goes to my point, not to yours. Just because life every day for this group of people is violent has nothing to do with the overthrow of the U.S. government. One, and then two. If we were to dive into the, what happened on the 6th, these people were not armed and they basically held signs and stood outside of this and were let in. These were not a group of marauders who came in a battleship in order to conduct warfare. That was not what happened.
And just in the interest of accuracy, the people that broke the windows were not the ones holding the signs. That's on video and accuracy matters. So
where is this? Where's this elite fighting force?
You guys are
going to
hold on. Elite fighting force. He said elite fighting force. Listen,
yeah, well, I mean, I'm being facetious, right? But
he's at his
you are being facetious. Like I said, I'm gonna be cool because we have mutual people that we know. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been down to Miami.
You don't have to be cool.
In Miami, been on their platform.
You just tell me what your opinion is, and let's duke it out.
My opinion is this, right? The people who did what they did that day, a lot of them are locked up right now, right? They didn't get locked up for nothing, right? They did some things they got locked up for, right? My thing is, hey, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And then while that was going on, I moved to Central Florida. This used to be a hub for old boy. I mean, bro, you'll be hard pressed to find any outwardly like just really vocal supporters out here right now. And I would ask people like, well, how come y'all out here with y'all flags and like every Friday be on certain corners, and how come y'all ain't doing that anymore? And they'll start telling about how so-and-so got locked up and the FBI came to see these people, not the FBI, but law enforcement came to see these people, and these people had to come talk and they had lists and all that. And they were like, yeah,
point. That actually goes to Andrew's
right.
point.
So it's oh, go ahead.
You just reinforced Andrew's point. Those people were nonviolent and they got arrested anyway.
There's people who had their entire bank account seized because they were in the vicinity and bought a cup of coffee.
A friend of mine who's an FFL in Missouri was harassed by the FBI. His business was shut down for 6 months, which basically caused him to almost go out of business. He was locked up for 30 days with no bail, no nothing, just locked up while they evaluated the situation. The FBI they eventually let him go because he didn't do anything. But even the people they did lock up, They have no proof of any kind that they did anything except walk around. However, the cop that shot a woman walked free.
Got a
I
promotion.
can't. I don't. You know. And
Yeah,
you know,
you mean you're talking about Ashley Babbitt?
yes.
Yeah. So here, I mean, but this is the thing, right? Is that there was no insurrection. It's completely and totally fabricated. There was no insurrection. That's not what an insurrection looks like. If you look back at the historical record, what insurrections look like, you want to see an insurrection, go see what happened to Tsar Nicholas and his family when the communists conducted an insurrection. That's what it looks like. What it doesn't look like is a bunch of people with signs who get led into the palace. That's not an insurrection. That's something completely different.
Well, maybe they should have just did it like the Black Panthers did in California. Just brought their weapons and walked in there, totally compliant with the law. That's not an insurrection.
No, it wasn't
that,
an
right?
insurrection. That's not what an insurrection looks like either. So
Exactly.
I agree with you that the Black Panthers were not conducting. I agree with you that the Black Panthers were not conducting an insurrection, but also I don't think that the people who were there that day were conducting an insurrection. I don't think that that's what that was. It does not fit the categories that I would consider an insurrection to be.
Well, you know, unfortunately for those people, that the laws in America do, and they had to do some time.
Well,
now
but
I
they
agree
don't.
with you. In America,
who's been prosecuted for insurrection successfully so far?
There are people who are locked up right now, and this has been going on as long as I've been alive. It's like you saying, well, I got a friend that got, you know, he was in there for 30 days or whatever, and they finally let him go because he ain't do nothing. I know people that have been locked down for 5 years. It didn't do a thing. It was locked up for 5 years.
That's right.
Because they refused to take a plea. Right? It's just the way the system is messed up. So it's I get you, and that's my point too. I know people is locked down right now. Like, remember what they charge you with? You can't even pull them up in the system because they never got charged with anything. Right? The system is messed up. Now this is going to splinter into a whole bunch of, you know, other nuances within this conversation. Right? And again, it's like at some point, people are going to be like, all right, that's it. What is going to be that point?
Yeah, I don't know. That's my question.
Andrew's point.
I'm not sure that there's going to be that point. And the reason is because I think that inside of nations where the people are well fed and they have access to at least, you know, the majority of whatever the social services are, they're not going to do what it is that you're talking about. That's what I think. I can't find a modern example of the general population anywhere in the world who is well fed and has access to basic social services who does that. I can't find an example anywhere. I've looked.
So, and my point is, I'm with you. I'm with you all the way up until this point. And then it goes to the question that I posed before. What happens then when they can't get food? What happens then when they
the
don't
same thing that would happen
services?
in any nation where people didn't have access to basic social services or food? Then at that point, they do begin to give pushback. But you're talking about conditionals which are set where the government's not fulfilling its basic roles inside of society. And that is not what's occurring right now. In fact, I would say they're fulfilling too many roles in society, right?
I agree with you there. We're on the same page. My question is, if we get to that point, and like you said, it's definitely going to be a problem here, right? Oh, if the government, they've overreached, now they can't, you know, they can't quell the masses, they can't feed the poor, and they're, you know, the people are getting tired of being picked up and locked up without, you know, any resemblance of our laws. Like, man, you just can't lock me up for nothing. And they get to that point. Is that the point then that they pick up all them guns? Because we still have more guns than people in this country. So when we get to that point,
what you're asking, right? But what you're asking me, really, if you look at it from a logical sense, you're saying, well, what happens if we get to the point where the conditionals are such that there is a revolution? And it's like, well, then I guess we're at the point where the conditionals are such that we're at a revolution. But even if I just kind of logically state that, yeah, that's a truism, it's like asking, you know, what happens if you come to the conditionals which would make you step out in your marriage? Then I would have to admit that you would meet the conditionals that would make you step out of your marriage. It just ultimately has no bearing on the point, which is whatever those conditionals are, we're clearly not fucking there. And I'm not sure we'll ever get there. It seems like it's a difficult
And
thing to push the public towards any sort of social revolution if they're fed.
And I agree with you. And my thing
Okay.
is, if that changes, we got a serious problem. I mean, I'm just being 100 with you. If that changes, we got
Sure.
a problem. And my thing is, the problem is, you know, we do have a lot of weapons in this country, and I'm glad we do. You know, because unlike most countries, if people get there in America, they can make a lot of noise, as opposed to you name the countries, they can't make as much noise. They don't have what we have. So I'm with you, bro. But I'm just saying, you're saying it's never going to happen. I'm saying it may. You know what I mean? That's where we did. I think that's
Well,
where the difference is right now.
It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
No, that's not my point. My point
But
is,
you're saying is it? Go ahead.
My point is just that these conditionals, we don't seem like we're anywhere near whatever these conditionals are. That's my point.
Right. Whatever they are.
So,
right. Especially the food thing.
Whatever
of course,
they are.
we got tons of food. We got all this. Whatever they are.
I mean, there's, and in fact, let me ask you a question. If your neighbor came over to you tomorrow, your neighbor, and said, "Hey, man, we're having a rough time at home right now. You know, you think you could help us out with some food? Wouldn't you go buy him some food?"
Of course. And doesn't even have to be my neighbor. Of course.
Right. So, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like,
if I can,
it's actually super hard to go hungry inside of the United States, because I think that you could just knock on random people's doors and tell them you're hungry, and they'd probably feed you. Like, not even lying. I think that you could just knock. You know what? I would be willing to do this. I'd be willing to make this experiment. I would do it just for the fun of it. I would say that 1 in 5 people's door you knocked on, if you just knocked on the door and said, "Listen, I'm really sorry to disturb you. I haven't eaten anything in a couple of days, and I'm actually starving. I was just wondering if you could spare a little bit of food. I don't want any money or anything like that." I bet you most people would give you something to eat.
And
I bet they
theory,
would.
I agree with you. Please, people, in theory, I agree with you, but people don't, out there listening to us, don't go around and start knocking on doors. Please don't. It depends on what doors you're knocking on. It could be a problem. Please don't. But I
think even in the ghetto, I think even in the ghetto, if you knocked on a door in the ghetto and said, "Look, I haven't eaten in a couple of days. Do you think you can help me out with something to eat?" I think even there, a lot of people would be like, "Yeah, sure. Here's something to eat."
That's where I disagree with you. Knocking on the door part. Yeah, knocking on the door part. It's a different. Now you're talking about a way different world, bro. Like it's just, that's a different reality. The knocking on the door part is not gonna get you fed. Now, if you just in the hood and they recognize you and they see you trying to do well, "Hey man, can you help me?" Yeah, they'll give you half their sandwich or whatever. Because you're talking about folks who don't have much to begin with, and then you're talking about folks.
Yeah,
who live in the world
I get it, but I still
you know
think what I'm saying. I guess my overarching point here, though, is that I think most people, they see somebody who's legitimately hungry, who doesn't have enough food to eat. They're actually hungry because they haven't eaten. I think most people in this country will feed them.
They will. And I'm not a religious person. In fact, I am your friendly neighborhood heathen when it comes to religion. But I would say that most people in America want to be the Good Samaritan. Most people want to be. Like even when I come across folks.
All right, but let's forget about food for a minute. What about housing? What about What about instead of 20 tents, you start seeing 200 tents and entire cities become tent cities? What's the limit to that? When does that end?
I mean, if you're talking about a homelessness crisis, then you would be talking about some kind of mass event which would cause large sections of the population become bankrupt, even though they're able-bodied. Again, this seems very far-fetched to me, at least in the current environment.
Don't you see more tents these days than before?
Yeah, the people that you see in tent cities generally are mentally ill, to be perfectly honest with you, sir. They're not there because they're able-bodied and are trying to do everything that's right, but just can't. They're usually there because they're mentally ill. They're not there because they're like you and I. They're there because they have screws loose upstairs. There may be circumstances where people who are not mentally ill and have all of their faculties and are just good, decent people fall on, horrific times and end up in a tent city. But that's going to end up being something which is very isolated. It's going to be an outlier, and they're usually going to work themselves out of it very quickly, because the truth is that, and this is not, if you end up in a job, let's say you end up in a construction crew, you go to them and you say, "Look, I'm homeless. I don't even have a place to live, this and that." You'd be surprised how many people will put you up as you work. there's always a need for work. And the thing is that most people who don't have a job, it's very clear to me at this point, don't fucking want a job because,
So then
man, there's nothing but jobs.
So then the increase in tents and on the streets, the growth of these tent cities is proportional to the growth in mental illness?
Of course, yeah. Not only is that
This is a
statistically
real
true,
thing.
but I can give you a great example of this, and I'm sure Mr. Saint will probably back me up. A lot of the modern homeless crisis comes from veterans who are mentally ill from untreated PTSD, and they can't get the help that they need. They can't get the group help that they need. They can't get access to the resources that they need. And a lot of times when you're talking about homeless veterans, you're talking about people who are in these tent cities is because they suffer from severe mental illness
or drug addiction.
I would add to that, bro. Like,
well, that's
I hear what
often
you're saying.
that often moves
There's
into
so many other cases though. There's fentanyl, and there's 15-year-old kids on fentanyl. There are so many different cases. I think.
Yeah, but the 15-year-old kids on fentanyl aren't living in tent cities, dude.
Well, there are plenty of people who are older than that.
Not all of them.
I don't think it's just mental.
Yeah,
mental.
Yeah, and I would.
Then, okay, so you're saying, wait, you're saying that the economic conditions
one second.
of people who are completely sane and have a work ethic are ending up homeless in tent cities? I reject that categorically. I don't believe you. I don't believe that that's the case. I don't believe that that's the fact of the matter.
Well, let
me jump in there before you answer.
Maybe there are people who are borderline. Maybe when the economy is good, these people are on the borderline and they're okay. They can make it, they can get by. But then you put a little more pressure on them, they go over to the other side. So it is related to the economy. I mean, it's obvious it's related to the economy.
It does not seem so obvious to me that
what about
in one of the richest nations on planet Earth, that able-bodied sane men, able-bodied meaning they can work, sane meaning they're mentally stable, and they're willing to work, end up in tent cities. That is not a thing which I think is true. I think it's a case use of people who are mentally ill or drug addicts, which if you're a drug addict, I think that you're at least at that point in your life experiencing mental illness.
So there's just to try to tie it back to the feminists as well, because like I said, because it kind of went into the basic revolution talk. What happens though, like if feminism keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and we get to a stage where there's so much men that are like, fuck this, we want because they're like, no matter how much money I earn or whatever, it's going to be the top 10% or thing of men. So basically, all the women just attract to them. Hypergamy takes over, and then all these sexist men basically get angry, and then they say, "Fuck this, let's turn the tables."
Bro, there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of layers of both these topics, man. So to Brother T's question right here with hypergamy and feminist women and all that, the guys on the streets, right? The guys at the top tier and all the way down, those are the dudes that fuel what's going on. You keep talking about this feminist thing, right? If these guys will buckle down, do the work, learn themselves a little bit of game, and what I mean by game is just understand it, just kind of learn how the thing works, learn how to get into a woman's ear. Sister Cat said it earlier in this stream. When it comes to questions of the heart, things of the heart, relationships and all that, man, women are suckers for the okie doke. They'll believe damn near anything you tell them, right? So if dudes stop accepting this bad behavior, this shit'll go away. You're starting to see it happen now here in America anyway. You're starting to see it. Women want attention, and it's bad attention now to the whole
women would stop
thing, right?
If women would stop their bad behavior, it'd go away too.
Say again. I missed that. Say again.
If women stop their bad behavior, it would go away too.
Right. But my point again, this is very tiered. There's a bunch of ways to fix this, right? But the women want the certain type of dude, right? And all these guys, these young guys come to me like, man, I have no shot. I don't have any money. I'm under 6 feet. I don't go to the gym. I live with my mom. They come up with all these excuses. And I'm like, bro, like I'm in my 50s. When I was in my 20s, I was broke, right? I was still living in my parents' house for a little bit, trying to get a place. I have no money, but that's when I was at my height when it came to the whole womanizing thing. I had women everywhere. I had women who would take me places that would buy me shit. It is what it is. How did I get those women? Well, I knew how to talk to them.
Because you probably have a sense
to approach them.
Yeah, but you probably have a sense of charisma. Charisma is not a thing.
I have charisma, yes, all that.
Yeah, but charisma is not a thing you can teach.
You can't teach it, but confidence, confidence is enough, even without the charisma. Confidence enough to get you
How do
at
you
least
know?
into play.
You've never had charisma. And
not
where are
based
all
on my
these men?
no, I'm talking about
Where are all these men with no charisma bagging all these broads? I've never seen them. I've seen men with confidence who have charisma.
Well, what about
yeah?
rich
So
men
like
with no
like my man Fresh, they get rich. They don't need the charisma. They can afford to provide opportunities and experiences.
Walter has tons of charisma. Have you ever seen him talking with people, even off camera? Tons of fucking charisma.
I've been in the trenches. I've been in the trenches with Walt. I've been in the trenches with Walt. Right. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
but
he has
the
tons
way
of
he
charisma.
runs his game, he's one of those solid, quiet dudes. But when you just looking at him from the outside in, you don't know that. You got to sit there and watch him move. It's like, oh crap, yeah. But at what level of charisma does it take? Do I have to be as smooth as James Bond? No, I could just be as smooth as Walt. He's if I'm just making up.
Well, okay, so let's start with let's do
saying?
it like this. Then we'll say it's like Dungeons and Dragons rules, right? Charisma, the charisma stat.
I never played Dungeons and Dragons.
The charisma stat needs to be at least at a 4. Okay, it needs to be at least at a 4 out of 10. Let's say 10's the highest. You gotta have at least
1.5.
charisma.
I would say 1.5.
Well, where are all these guys with a 1.5? Can you? I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you. I'll buy you a pizza because it's the Crucible Pizza Party. Hang on. Let me finish. Hang on. I'll buy you a pizza right now during the Crucible Pizza Party if you can point to one person that we can look to who's one of these big game pimping dudes who has a charisma of 1.5.
Oh.
Just one. Just name one. Hang on. Just one.
Well, the people I name you don't know, so it's hard for me to do that.
No, somebody that people would know.
The PUA. Give me some time to think about that. I have to sit around and think who y'all might know. But here's my thing. What is the mission? Knows. When we had these conversations, I ask guys all the time. When we have these conversations, what is the mission for the dude? What is their barrier of success? In most cases, it's sex, right? That's what most of these dudes, these bottom 80 guys, these guys out there in the mineral swamp, they're trying to get sexual access, right? For anyone who's in the game, they know that's a low bar. And that's why I'm saying a 1.5 on a charisma scale is enough to get you that sex from a woman. So you're saying and these dudes don't even, go ahead.
Well, I just want to make sure I want to steel man this properly. Make sure I get what you're saying correctly. You're saying that if the bar is set at just getting sex from women, your charisma can be low. Are you taking out from that the pay for play aspect?
Yes, I am. I don't consider that. That doesn't count.
Well, then I don't believe you. I don't believe that there's a bunch of men out there or any man really anywhere who has a very low charisma stat on the D&D scale who's pulling in a bunch of chicks absent having some sort of resources to pay for them in some capacity. I just don't believe it.
But when we say pay for when we say pay for play,
yeah.
Or do you talking about, hey, I'm going to give you this much money so you can give me sex? That's what I.
Well,
when I hear pay for play, that's
I'm
what
not saying prostitution. I'm not saying prostitution.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying prostitution. Yeah, prostitution directly. What I'm saying is that they have the resources,
and I agree with you.
Push. Yeah, which they can push towards women. I think absent that though, because that's still pay for play. Essentially, it's still a pay for play. They're not prostitutes.
For pizza.
Okay.
I got a guy I want to name for pizza. I got a guy I want to name. And I don't know this man. I've never met this man, just based on what I've seen.
He's somebody we're going to know though, right?
Hell yeah. You on this podcast all the time. Your man, what's his name? Brian from whatever. He doesn't seem like a guy who has a lot of charisma to me. He seems like a very smart guy.
That dude's got game.
I've never met him.
Tons of He's got
I've never met him.
Tons of fucking charisma.
But you get my point.
Nope, that's not a good one because that guy has a ton of charisma. In fact, he not only attracts women to him, but he attracts men to him. So that's the sign of somebody who's a charismatic, is that men will follow him and women desire him. And that is something which Brian does have. Now, yeah, go ahead.
If we can drop him, let's say remove the fame, remove the platforms, remove all that stuff. And let's take him somewhere, I don't know, Poland, right? Or they have to be an English-speaking country. Let's take him to somewhere where they speak English. You know, I don't want to say Poland, although most of them speak English. Drop him somewhere. Let's drop him somewhere in flyover country. There you go. Let's drop him somewhere in America in flyover country. Well, no, let's just flyover country. Let's drop him somewhere in the Dakotas, or let's drop him somewhere in Montana or Oklahoma or something like that. Let's drop him there. You're telling me, because what I'm saying is, I think his charisma level is real low. I think his charisma level is about a 1.5, right? Maybe 2.
Based on
that's what I'm saying. But
based on what?
It's just the way he carries himself. Only what I see, because I haven't met him. Oh, go ahead.
Give me 1 minute. So I hate to do this to you, bro, but Brian's original career started out doing prank videos, and one of the pranks he did was walking around in cities he had never been in. Nobody knew who he was, and he would ask women for sex. And he would ask like 100, and he'd get 1 or 2. But that's a dude cold calling, and he had enough riz that a couple of women said, "Yeah, I'll go bang you right now off the street."
Happily.
That's game,
And,
bro.
okay, that's
He's
great.
got that sneaky.
That's charisma.
Yeah, that's running. That's game. I give you that. That's charisma. I give you that. That's running numbers, right? Right. But I know dudes who do it without cameras and just whatever. Like, so the argument would be, if he had charisma, let's say he was on that charisma scale of 8, 8.5, that instead of getting 1 or 2, that number would be 8 or 9, right? I'm just saying. So I just don't think.
Yeah, but it's not 1.5.
That much charisma, but
it's not 1.5 for sure.
I think it's like 1.5. I give him a 1.5.
Just to clarify, like when you say like someone.
Well, I'll tell you what then. Well, I mean, let's see. If you just went out and asked random broads to bang you, like what would your success rate be based on your charisma?
I would say it'll be probably right around where he was. Well, it depends on where I am.
Yeah, but so your charisma's 1.5.
I think no. I'm saying I think that in Miami, because that's one of the cities that I think you can really do well in. I think I would probably get out of 100, maybe 3 or 4. Maybe
that's
3 or 4.
probably about what his success rate was.
Brother Tariq wanted to say something.
No, just to clarify, like when you
shut up, you stupid Irishman. We're having a conversation.
Hey, you're fucking.
You shut the fuck up, you fucking loser. That's a piece of shit. Get the fuck out of here. We're in the middle of having a convo and you wreck the whole thing. By the way, by the way, Teriak, can I buy you a pizza? There's the Crucible Pizza Party. Can you hop in the Discord real quick? Get a hold of Mr. E, and we're gonna get you a pizza on the Crucible today, sir.
You're a gentleman.
Shut up, you piece of shit. Don't ever tell me I hate you. You're scum.
But yeah, just to clarify, like when you say charisma of 1, I'm thinking like someone with autism.
Totally. I'm thinking of somebody who's like sitting there in a corner going, right? They're like, these are people.
I'm not thinking that.
Really? Well, I mean, what's a 1?
Of all the guys, I really believe in that 80-20 rule, right? So I think any guy who can get sexual access for a woman is in the top 20% off rip. That's just where I come from with it. Like, if you can get access from a woman, you can walk up to a woman and just have a conversation. You're in the top 20. So of the guys in the top 20, and that's where my charisma scales begin. I'm not going to rate the dudes in the bottom 8. They don't know what they're doing. The rest of them are in the corner, you know what I mean, picking boogers and going blah, 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 blah. They don't
wait. Hang on. Okay, this is kind of like a red herring then. You're saying, well, the thing is that I assign a charisma of 1 only to the most charismatic men who are already way above a 1 by your own metric, right? If you're talking about the population at large, what would you assign a charisma of 1 as? Wouldn't that be I
just don't count
like you blow bubbles next to the blowfish?
Like pretty much. I mean,
yeah, you'd be blowing bubbles with the blowfish, right?
Right. They're like the invisible guys are just that to me, invisible. Like these guys, they don't even count, man. I mean, it's kind of like when you play sports, bro. You ain't make the team, you're nothing. And then when you do make the team, you ain't starting, you ain't shit. I mean, I'm looking at it like that. Like of the guys who actually are out there doing it, right? Yeah, for me to even talk about you means you a dude. You one of the dudes. But let me go ahead and give you that rating. Like, I don't think, like a 10. Who's a 10? Those would be the guys who are like the real pimps out there who are actually talking women and men into doing stuff just by talking to them. That's such a rare human being. It's insane. That's to me, like those are the 10. And then the guys below those, the player guys, the guys who have really mastered their game. And I guess kids call it Riz now, whatever the hell that means. But those guys, I mean, it's hard to get up there.
Isn't that just short for charisma?
It's really hard to get up there.
So what was the bad
Is that what that means? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think it's just short for charisma.
What was the bad behavior?
Is that what that is? Short for charisma?
Yeah.
The bad behavior. Me?
No. Andrew was talking about bad behavior when women when they stopped with their bad behavior. Going way
Yeah,
back.
well, so women, yeah. So I can
We were talking
address
about
that.
feminism.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that women are the gatekeepers of sex. They're the deciders of reproduction, not men. My demonstration for this, for how I can prove that this is true, is because you have twice as many female ancestors as you do male ancestors. This means that most men, at least 50%, were not able to successfully reproduce, but almost all women were. So this means that women are going to be the gatekeepers. So they decide whose seed they take and whose seed they do not, because they are the womb, whereas men are far less discriminate. So it used to be, even in this nation, just 90 years ago, that women were far more discriminate about whose seed they took in. And when we had a kind of top tier down push towards monogamy, they would obviously go for the best that they could, just like men would. But they were definitely always the gatekeepers of who got to reproduce and who does not get to reproduce. Men are not the gatekeepers of that.
Well, that's exactly, that's more or less what I said before you came on. But what's bad about their behavior now?
Well, right now you have a barricade between sex and reproduction. And this was done via the sexual revolution. So now birth control mechanisms like abortion or regular birth control or Plan B or the abortion pill, things like this, allow them to have that unfettered access to sex like men without any of the reproductive consequences. Whereas before they had to deal with the reproductive consequences. So they're much more selective about the men they had sex with, which was basically nobody, because their chastity intact would give them access to a much higher tier of mate. That is no longer the case. However, if the sisterhood decided tomorrow that they would only move towards monogamous relationships and not have sex because they don't have to deal with the reproductive ramifications of that, this entire thing that we're talking about between men and women and sex selection would be over with overnight.
Maybe.
I mean, how's that a maybe? I'd actually like to hear a counter argument to it.
I think there are other things keeping it in place. It's anytime you have a difference, people can exploit that to create division. Like you just need to whisper in someone's ear, yeah, this guy said something about you, and just the fact you're different will be enough to kind of keep it going.
What?
And there are reasons to keep it going.
What the hell are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. If you want to keep people divided, you just pick two groups that are different. It could be anything. You could pick brown-haired people and blue, blonde.
But groups
people.
are different. There's an objective. There is an objective truth of the matter. You do agree that men and women are not interchangeable widgets, and that we are ontologically different, right?
Right, but I'm saying,
so when you offer incentives to the general population, if you yourself understand there's an ontological, meaning a mode of being which is different between men and women, why wouldn't you offer different incentives to men than you do women? That seems wise.
Oh, I'm not arguing against that. I'm just saying, even if we could fix the bad behavior, if you find that desirable, which I don't necessarily.
You don't find it desirable to fix the bad behavior of women?
I don't see it as bad. I think that's subjective.
You think promiscuous women are good?
Sorry?
You think promiscuity in women is good?
It's good. It's if they're happy with it, if they do it willingly, then it must be good for them. I mean, who am I to choose?
Thank God for you, Nick. So, Nick, what you're saying is you're a coomer, right?
I am not familiar with that term.
You're what we would consider a sexual deviant. Your morality when it comes to sex is that more of it is preferable than less of it, and the more people who want to have it, well, quite frankly, Andrew, it's just none of your concern.
No. I just think whoever wants to have sex should have sex, and whoever doesn't.
That's what I just said, right? So,
but I'm not deciding. No, listen, and I'm not
Mhm.
deciding for society, at large.
Well, let's
I'm
say
just
you
saying
could. Let's assume
I
you
wouldn't.
could. Yeah,
I
but let's
wouldn't.
assume that you could.
I wouldn't.
So
I
even
still
if you could, if you still wouldn't, then you are deciding.
no. I'm
Yes.
deciding for myself. I decide for myself.
Well,
And I
no,
think
no, no.
everyone
You hang on. If you are ultimate dictator, Nick, you're in charge of all of society, and you say people can be just as promiscuous as they want to be, I still would take no different position. Then here, as the decider, you're saying that this is a moral ought. It's actually an imperative that people be able to be allowed to be promiscuous if they so choose to be. That is the entailment of that thought process, Nick.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter because people would
It
always
does
end
matter.
up finding a new kind of morality. No.
Oh, well, then why make murder laws, Nick? After all, people will just always find a way to murder. Why have laws against murder, Nick? That makes no sense.
Right, like war, for example. People
Yeah,
still
I
find
mean,
ways to
why,
murder.
why have law, Nick? Why have a law of anything if people will just find a way to skirt it?
That's a good question because I mean, the only thing that keeps laws in place is that most people follow them. Most people obey them. So they must be good enough because if they weren't good enough, most people would break them. And when most people break them, you might as well like just take it out of the law books.
So just so I got this right, you don't think that a law against murder deters murderers?
Do we still have murder?
Do we have less murder than we did when the deterrents were less strong towards murder?
I don't know.
Well, the answer is yes. Murder
I
has been
wasn't
doing.
there. Were you?
Here's what well, we have stats, right? You can pull them up right now while I'm talking
Hearsay.
to you.
That's hearsay.
It's hearsay. Now, Nick, I just want to make sure I got this right. You don't think that we can track the number of human beings who have been killed absent justification inside of this nation? I just want to make sure we're clear.
You were talking about the past. If we were to go back 500
Yeah.
years,
We don't need, bro. Why do we need to go back 500 years? A total red herring.
You were talking about
no, it's a total red herring. I'm talking about right now, right this second. Do you agree that, well, let's just say in the 90s, the murder rates were higher than they are right now?
Okay, that's easier to do. We can compare the 90s to now, but I can't talk about pre-law.
Yeah, but we weren't talking about pre-law. Total red herring.
Hey, brother Nick, if I could jump in real quick.
I wasn't. But hang on, let us finish. Let us finish. We're almost done.
I'm just real quick. If I could get away with murder,
bro, interject yourself.
If I have to, if I could get away with murder, bro, it would be a lot of people in body bags right now, bro. It's the law that keeps me from doing it, right? Just keeping it 100, bro. I mean, I gotta make that point. It is a deterrent.
So Nick, I guess the point we're getting at is,
but it's a law. Hold on, hear me out though.
Yeah.
That's a law that exists because most people think it's a good law. That's the point I'm trying to make.
You think that
even if you took it out of the law books, we would come back to it. We would gravitate back.
Well, geez, Nick, that's really weird because most people don't like the lobbyist laws. So how come we still have the lobbyist laws?
I don't see how that's relevant.
Wait, Nick. Now you just got done saying the only reason we have laws is because most people like them. That's why we have them. And yet I can give you many examples of laws most people don't like, and yet we still have those laws. It's really weird, Nick.
The laws that people actually end up obeying, I think, have to be good enough. They have to be good enough. Otherwise, yeah, they stay in the law books, but nobody, there's no penalty. Nobody really gets in trouble.
But that's to my point, not to your point.
Spitting on the sidewalk. It's illegal to spit on the sidewalk in Florida, but nobody cares because nobody gets penalized for it. Nobody gets arrested for it. And
so hang on. So what you're saying is that if people got penalized for it, that less people would do it.
No, people would.
No, no, they wouldn't.
No, because the police.
So that I don't understand. I thought you just got done saying most people don't spit on the sidewalk in Florida. Because if they do, they're not penalized for it, and that's why they do it. But now you're saying, okay, go ahead, Nick.
Let me finish. Okay, so there's a law in Florida against spitting on the sidewalk, right? Nobody enforces this law because they realize how absurd it would be to try to enforce it. So everyone spits freely. Everyone spits on the sidewalk freely if they want to. Now, if you were to decide to try to enforce that law, like seriously, I think the police would be the first to say, yeah, no, let's not.
Oh, you do, huh? So do you think that most people in the United States are for or against the tax laws?
On some level, they must be for it.
Oh,
To
you
see
think
if-
that they're for it? They love it. They love having Uncle Sam come and take their money, 1/3 of their paycheck every time they get paid. They love that, Nick. It's their favorite.
Well, if you were to turn it to 78 or 80%, you'd get a different answer.
Oh, so let me get this right.
find
So
it
hang on. So
justified.
they don't want any of it, but because it's the law, they pay it. Even though they don't like the law, they very clearly don't like the law. You're saying they must, at some level, actually like the law, because otherwise they
don't
wouldn't
like
do it.
No, they don't like
Would
it.
that like be the equation with like Aztec human sacrifice, Nick? They just
No,
sacrificed
listen,
humans because that's what they liked it, right? They liked it. That was the thing. They loved it.
I think you're digressing a bit, but I think people must consider.
Well, it's not a digression; it's an argument.
They must consider it just to some extent. Otherwise, they wouldn't pay. They just wouldn't pay. They wouldn't.
So to get this right, all morality is intuitive.
No, not all morality.
Well, I mean, no. Hang on, Nick. I can explain how that has to be an entailment, because what you're saying is that the intuition of people is what makes the law. Since the intuition of people is what makes the law, what makes the law?
It's a collective phenomenon. It's like
the
Italy,
intuition of people.
in the south of Italy. It's a good thing.
Hang on. How do you come up with the collective of people want X if it's not based on their intuition?
I'll explain. So the south of Italy, of Italy, right? They have tax laws, but everyone finds a way around them. They find very clever ways around them. So they come up with new laws. So people find cleverer ways around the new laws. And in the end, people still don't pay taxes. Why? Because there's this collective will.
Okay.
There's this cultural phenomenon that just takes place and nobody pays taxes. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, they do, but they do pay taxes, Nick.
Yeah, obviously we do.
They pay fewer taxes than they do in the north.
Yeah, okay, but they pay their taxes because that's the law, right?
Only the taxes that they're forced
So
to
now,
pay.
Nick, we can figure this out right now. Assuming there was no laws anywhere in southern Italy that anybody ever had to pay taxes, right? Ever.
Right.
Versus there are laws that people do have to pay taxes. Under which system do you think people would pay more taxes?
They would pay the.
Now, Nick, answer my question, Nick.
I'm answering your question. They pay
No. I just want to know if we had a nation. So I just want you to tell me which system. The system where there's no law that you have to pay taxes versus a system where you have a law that says you have to pay taxes. Which system are people paying more taxes under?
I'm trying to explain. Okay, so they would end
You're
up.
going to explain it. Okay.
They could possibly pay more taxes, just a different type of tax to a different entity. They'd pay the pizzo to the mafia. They'd end up having to pay someone because we gravitate towards these structures anyway. It's like if you were to try to implement, if you wanted to go to resort to chaos and anarchy would never last for very long because we just
So then back to my question. System says you have to pay no taxes. System says you have to pay taxes. Which system do more people pay taxes under?
It depends on the people. It depends.
So you think that under the system where there's no taxes, people are going to go and pay taxes?
Yes, because they have.
Yes. Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to go take a leak while you just understand your massive cognitive dissonance that you just said. Under a system where no one has to pay taxes, they're still going to pay taxes. You insane bastard. I just heard you out. That's insane. What you just said is absolutely. Okay, go ahead. All right, I'm listening.
Okay, no, it depends on the culture, right? If you have a culture where people believe that they all need to pitch in together and it's important for these public areas to be well kept, then yeah, they're all going to pay taxes. They're going to pool together. It's not going to be enforced by the government, but they're going to find it, morally correct to do it, and they're going to do it of their own will, okay? Whereas in another system where the culture's flawed, but the government is trying to impose something, it doesn't matter if the law is there in place. It doesn't matter.
Is there can you give me an example of such an area?
Sorry?
No.
Can you give me an example, any example, I don't care which one, of such an area where people willingly take money out of their pocket to make a community?
Yeah. Huh? Small organizations. Haven't you ever been part of a community?
I'm talking about people living in a community, not a business that has a a means to an end. I'm talking about like in my community here, nobody pays anything because we don't want to. There's no HOA. We just do our own shit. We all take care of our own yards. Down the road, there's an HOA. They fine people if they don't pay money to keep the grounds clean.
Yeah, but that's how that works. Yeah, but
now, are you talking about? I don't think you can give me an example of any. But let me ask you a question about taxes, because taxes have a special place in my heart. So, do you really? So, just in full transparency, for the last roughly 10 years, I have been very fortunate enough to pay over 6 figures in income tax every single fucking year.
I mean, let's we can actually simplify this real quick.
Given the choice, do you think I would want to do that?
Of course not. Of course not.
Oh, but you're okay then. Right. If it wasn't under pain of law.
Well, hang on. Let me steelman Nick's position.
Okay.
Because I think I understand what he's saying. Nick's saying, and Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to steelman this properly so I know I have it down pat. You're saying, absent a taxation system, there'll be X amount of voluntarists who will still give money for X amount of things because they want the better society, whether it's infrastructure or this or that, right?
Depending on the culture.
Sure.
I'm not talking about the world we live in now.
No, I understand. Let's just say it's some more advanced culture or something like this. Okay.
Right.
So then I want you to understand this entailment. You tell me if this is true or false under this worldview. We have no laws against murder, there'll be just as many murders as if we didn't have laws saying you could not murder.
If you could indoctrinate, if we could conduct we could never do this, but if we could somehow conduct a controlled experiment where you totally indoctrinated one group of children in one community and did the same in another, the culture would be the most important factor. That would dictate how the people behaved and what they did, not some law, like something written on in a book.
Well, okay then, Nick. Then in this culture, the one that we currently live in, would there be more murder or less murder if you made murder legal tomorrow?
I would assume more murder.
You would assume more murder. So then, Nick, would there be more prostitution or less prostitution if you made prostitution legal tomorrow?
There's plenty of prostitution. There might be more prostitution now than there was before, because if you consider OnlyFans prostitution, I mean, or sugar daddies, since the internet, I think we've seen a rise in prostitution.
Let's just say hookers.
A different form of it.
Let's just say women who get penetrated by men for money. Would there be more of them or less of them if you made a law saying that if you can get penetrated for money, it's legal? More or less?
It depends on how easily you could get around the law.
The law says it's legal.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. So
the answer is more, brother. There's no getting around it. It's more.
Okay, yeah.
There's no getting around it, brother. I mean, even if your point is they were already doing it for money, breaking the law. If you made it legal, it's going to be more of them, bro. Legally out there doing it. They'll be on the street.
Yeah.
The answer to this question is more. There's no getting around it, bro. To both killing.
That's the answer. That's the answer to everything. If you were to say that going 120 miles an hour down the highway was now legal, right? Would more or less people do 120 miles an hour on the highway?
I do at least 90.
I want to slow down, but sure.
Yeah, but the question is, would more or less people do it?
I think it still depends on the people.
It still depends. Yeah. Okay. The United States, you made a law tomorrow. You can do 120 miles an hour on any highway you're on. Would more people do 120 miles an hour on the highway, or would less people do it?
Of course, in the U.S.
Well, then we have established that a deterrence in law is effective. So when I ask you, Nick, I say, Nick, what do you mean that you could not curtail female promiscuity through law? You say it can't be done. You're clearly incorrect. Of course it can be done. Of course it can. Well, because all other forms of law that which we talk about, where I say the incentive is either there or it is not, you say, I agree. If thing X were legal, more people would do thing X. For instance, right now, let's assume that it's illegal to own a firearm. If it was legal to own a firearm, would more people own a firearm, Nick, or would less people own one?
Obviously, more people would own a firearm. But
Then, Nick, you have no argument, bro. I just walked you through your whole argument. Now you know, bro.
I still find your argument a bit simplistic. I think it's still simplistic.
It doesn't need it. Why does logic need to be complex?
You're using these extreme examples, right? These extreme.
It's not extreme.
There
are countries right this second where you cannot own a gun. True or false?
True. Yeah. True.
Okay, and then there's countries right now like this one where you can. True or false?
Look, there's a country.
Answer my question, Nick. True or false? The answer, Nick. I'm almost done. Answer my question. There are countries right now where you can own a gun. Correct?
Yeah.
And there's countries right now where you can't. Right?
Okay.
So how's that extreme? It's literally mapping it onto reality.
No, you don't. No, you're comparing owning guns to prostitution. I feel that prostitution's already. I mean, there's so much of it. I don't know if there would really be a difference if you were to make it legal tomorrow, because there's so much
more guns than
prostitution anyway. Okay, yeah, there would be more. Obviously, there'd be more, but it would be. I don't think it'd be very significant because the law isn't keeping people from.
But would there be? Okay, let's assume that it just wouldn't be significant. Would there be more prostitution if it was illegal, or less?
If you obviously there would be more, but I mean, is it really
there would be more? So then the question becomes, what do you want to see in society? Is a push towards in society with prescription of law and governance. If you want to see bad behavior from people, then you would ascribe to the Nick philosophy of let them do whatever the fuck they want, because after all, you can't mitigate it with law, even though Nick also says you can mitigate all of this with law. So it make sense, Nick.
You're missing my point. Now, because you go to extremes, and that's not what I'm trying to say.
I'm not being extreme.
You're not going to change. You're not going to make any significant changes necessarily by changing the law. That's what I'm trying to say. If you write something down on paper, that's not going to change the way people behave. Okay,
brother Nick, if I can
really wait, hang on. I just want to make sure I got this clear. Really, you're saying that if you pass a law tomorrow, it's not really going to change very much what happens based on the law? No?
Let me rephrase
you want to revise? Yeah, go ahead and revise that. I would too.
Okay, now, if you really want to make a change in the culture, if you want to make a change in the way women behave and the way couples work, the law is probably not where you should begin. You should begin with culture. You should begin with education, with children, what children are taught. That's going to be...
Are children taught based on prescription of law?
Yeah, religious law, social law.
They're not really.
Oh, I teach my daughter about the law, bro. I teach my daughter about the law. Just real quick, brother Nick. Brother Nick, real quick, brother Nick. My daughter and her iPhone ran up a $10,000 bill. After I calmed down.
$1,000?
Yes, sir. After I calmed down, video games that the goddamn, just like slot machines. It wasn't a slot machine. She was just playing some video game. It was like power up now. It's a long story. We had an adult. I didn't have an iPhone at the time. I was Android. We had an adult. There was the go between her purchases, and then we changed the accounts, and the adult came off, and we weren't thinking. So my daughter had unfeathered access to the money. And she ran up, we saw it. It was after the banks called me. We saw how she did it. A little bit here, a little bit there. That's all beyond the point. The point is, I had to explain the law behind that. I said, listen, you're my daughter and I love you. I can talk to you now. It's been a week. You know what I mean? So here's the thing. If you had done this to anybody else, you would go to prison because this is against the law. You stole money. That's what that was. You know this isn't yours and you stole it. That's the law. I had to teach her that. Very teachable moment. Cost me a shit ton. I got 5,000 back, but I was still out $5,000, right? But it was the law that I was teaching her. And I also got to teach her the law as to, how it's going to affect her as she moves forward. I'm a parent. That's my responsibility. So yeah, you got to incorporate. And if I was religious, I would be talking about religious law, be it Christian or Muslim or, or Jew, whatever religion, they all come with rules. They all come with laws. So you got to teach that, bro.
If I were in charge, I wouldn't choose to focus on changing laws. If I really wanted to change society, I would start elsewhere. That's all I'm saying. Now,
where would you start, Nick?
As I said, I would start with culture. I would start with education.
Yeah, well, but I don't understand. When you say you'd start with culture, leader, what would be the mechanism for which you would affect culture as a leader who would pass no laws?
I would say it's on every individual. It's their responsibility to do it. It's our
So you can do
responsibility.
anything as a leader, is what you're saying?
I wouldn't want to be a leader.
So let me just make sure I got this right.
I don't want to be a leader.
Here's Nick's leadership.
I'm not a leader. I don't want to be a leader.
Do nothing. If Nick were a leader, do nothing. And if Nick conceivably were put in a leadership position, he would say he would change the culture by doing nothing. Excellently. Well done, Nick. You have definitely solved the problems of the United States with your epic leadership skills of doing nothing. Wonderfully done.
No, listen.
Highly appreciative, Nick.
I'm not going to be a dictator. I'm not, listen to me. I'm not going to be a dictator. I'm not going to be a leader. I'm not trying to be a leader. That's not my point. My point
I know, but the question became this: if you were in charge and you did not change law because you don't think it affects culture, then Nick, how would you change culture?
Propaganda, the way we're changing it now, the way people are changing it now.
Would you need to have a law in place in order to produce propaganda? No,
you don't. Clearly, you don't, because all the ways we're brainwashing people now doesn't depend on the law.
Yes, it does.
I mean, yeah, it's within the limits of the law.
No, so it's based on the law. So it's based on the law, Nick.
You're not listening to me.
I'm listening, bro. I'm listening.
No, I'm saying obviously there are things that you can't do, but there isn't a law telling us what we have to do. We're brainwashing ourselves the way we choose. Okay.
So what you're saying is that there's no law. So there's no law. Wait. So you're saying that there's no law which has a threshold for propaganda, only a law that does not have a threshold for propaganda. So within the prescription of law, everyone can do propaganda. But couldn't you just make a law saying that only certain people could make propaganda, which was good for the culture? And since you're the leader, shouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't want to do that.
No, you wouldn't want to do that.
Who decides what's good? Who decides what's bad?
Well, you're the leader. Don't you decide?
No.
No.
This whole discussion is based on our opinions. Okay. It's not.
Yeah, but you're the leader in this hypothetical. You're the leader in this hypothetical. You're in charge, Nick. What do you do?
I guess unethically, I'd have to manipulate what gets more publicity. What gets
what are those things, Nick? What gets more publicity? What do you do to curtail the problems of the United States?
I don't care, actually. I don't know what I would decide. I'm probably the least qualified person to decide that. But I think that all I'm trying to say is whoever wanted to be in that role, I think they'd be.
You would be right there to criticize them, wouldn't you, Nick? At least whoever was in that role, Nick would be right there to criticize them, even though Nick, if he was in that role, wouldn't do anything. Well, Nick, how long should I let you talk before I ever get to respond?
Well, let me finish. I'm sorry, my points are a bit long.
Well, to make them short,
you turn them into something they're not.
Well, no. I'm just giving you entailments of what you're saying, bro. I know it's uncomfortable, but it's an entailment.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving because
you're leaving.
The point I'm trying to make. Okay.
No, Nick. Nick, are you leaving, Nick? Are you running, Nick? You leaving? All right, Nick. You're gonna have to lead somewhere else another day, Nick.
What? Cat. Your buddy.
You guys.
Hey, Cat.
He didn't know.
Raging Tomato did that to me. I jumped on her platform with a Fresh and Fit t-shirt, and I had to fight off 8 or 9 folks, but it led to some real good friends. I don't quit because I'm airborne. We don't do that.
I don't know that he was.
I sat there and dealt with it
as much as he just gave up.
However you want to call it. I thought the young kids call that rage quitting, but it is what it is. See, it's in there saying, yeah, rage quit. I don't know what it is. What it is, but sometimes you just got to hold the L, man. I mean, I play sports. We do. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You don't like it, but it's just, hey, good game. You know what I mean? I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna come back and see your ass. You know what I mean? You can find this guy. You can find Andrew. I'm gonna go practice, go climb up Mount Wudang, work on my Tiger Crane style. Then I'm gonna come back and find him, right? And then have another go. But man, that was brutal.
It's tough to watch because it was just tough. It was tough to watch.
Andrew, you were wrong.
About
End of
what?
conversation. I win. Now I'm just Andrew. You were wrong. I win. Done. We're not even. I won.
That's fair.
And then
That's
run.
reasonable.
And then run for kills.
Totally reasonable. Across the board.
Guys, I'm gonna have to drop off because I got to get ready for my show in about what is it, an hour and a half or something like that. Like I need to go. I was gonna get a nap, but apparently that's not gonna happen. Andrew, buddy, thanks for jumping on and bringing so much class to the joint. You know,
No, that's not me for sure.
Well,
I'm a down in the mud gutter fighter, dude. Don't ever associate. Never associate me with class again. It offends me, sir.
Oh, you said that, bro. I'm like, class. Who you talking about?
Yeah, who the fuck are you talking about?
Well, I mean, hey, look,
That's not what I witnessed,
I got to look
bro.
up to my heroes, man. I got to look up. To
Like, that's not what I witnessed. Class now, bro.
Yeah.
Your thing is blood sport, right? I think isn't that what your thing is? Blood sport.
Well, I mean,
Andrew. I mean, but
I do like. I didn't feel like. I didn't feel like I was particularly mean. I was just kind of showing him, like, look, this leads to this. This leads to that. This leads to this. What are you talking about? But he got very upset. People do. They want what generally you got to understand that people want their opinions to be unchallenged. They're there to talk at you, not to you.
Fact. I agree with you there, brother.
That's true.
And all you did is you just walked the ordinance in. All my military people know what I'm talking about. Here's the target. Here's where the rounds are. You just walked them in. That's all that was, and then kaboom. So
before
Mr. Saint, it was a pleasure to speak with you today. By the way, go ahead, Grid One. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Before everybody runs away, Josie is going to rebattle for the third time Alex Kirsch on her channel. He will rage quit for the third time. I bet money. I got a 20 in my pocket that says he rage quits. If and I think that's going to happen here in just a few minutes. She gave me the time. Let me see if I can pull that up. It was hilarious last night, and it's going to be hilarious again because he has no arguments whatsoever, and he just completely rage quits. He rage quit. I said 2 sentences to him last night, and he rage quit. Just because I said that Zelensky was, in fact, the dictator, and he came into power in a coup, and he said, "Oh, I'm out." So it's I don't know, Josie Ann Lassard. I actually have her channel somewhere. I don't know where it is.
There's that old man moment. There's that old man moment.
Well,
Sister Cat, thanks for having me.
I was asked to do a favor.
All right, Terry, can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you hop over to the Crucible live chat on your cell phone and pick 2 people who make you laugh? They say something that makes you laugh so that the Crucible can buy him a pizza today.
Okay. Wait, I got the tab here.
Gentlemen
Looking
and
for
my
2.
lady, Sister Cat, I got to run. I'll come back. Hopefully you'll have me back again. I'll definitely come back.
absolutely.
Get the fuck out of here, Saint. We're sick of you. Worthless,
Hey.
worthless fucking, by the way, airborne, huh?
100% all the way, baby. Airborne. And
82nd, 82nd or 101?
Well, the 101st is air assault. And I was in the 18th Aviation Brigade. We were attached to 325, which is the 82nd. So wherever they went, we went. But I was not all American. I didn't wear that patch. I wore a much cooler patch on my left and right shoulder. That's right shoulder. In the Army, if you got a patch on your right shoulder, that means you went to combat. So yeah, I got one on my right shoulder. So it was a pleasure. I ain't gonna lie, this was fun. I'm getting out there in this YouTube stuff. Sister Cat, I want to invite you over to my platform so I can find out who the hell you are. I just kind of walked into this and it was just pew, pew, pew. I'm like, oh shit, let me duck. I want to find out who you are, what you're about, what's going on. I know you're in Miami. I'm down in Miami all the time. I'm in Tampa right now. And that's for the rest of you guys. I hope to see you around. Hope to see y'all around soon. I gotta go.
All right.
Fuck out of here. What the fuck? What part of get out of here did you not get? I want the second rage quit. Get out of here. You're off the show. You're off the program. Have a good one, man. It was nice to meet you.
Take care, brother.
Take care.
So, Teriak, please do not make any
memes
videos with
you
with
have,
your
but he has
friend.
to. It's so good.
He had no idea what he was. He was just here to play his song. We didn't even get to that.
I was just here to play my song.
The song of his people. his angry.
It's the mean Irish song.
But yeah, Andrew, two people, I'd say Dano, because he keeps tagging me, and then Kazi, because they just tagged me there as well.
All right, we got two. We got the two. Sound off in the chat. Sound off in the chat. Teriak picked two more. The Crucible will be buying you pizza this fine evening. Kat, can we buy you a pizza?
I do
Yeah,
not
shut up,
eat-
Kat. We're not actually going to buy you a pizza. We don't fucking, there's no simping at the fucking Crucible. You getting a fucking pizza, you crazy ass. Thank you for having me on your program. You are lucky I graced you with my presence. But anyway, guys, I'll get out of here. Have a wonderful evening.
If you're rolling around later, I'll be back on.
Don't fucking tell me what to do, but I'll see you later.
See you later, Andrew.
See ya.
All right. That was great. That's great. I'm really sorry about your poor friend. Your poor friend just got like he should have just sat there and strummed his guitar the whole time.
I know.
Andrew would have
He
been
just
cool
has
with him.
to be
Andrew plays
right.
guitar. But Andrew could have talked to him about playing guitar. But no. He had to. He walked right into it too. It was like you would have thought after you saw him go after Saint that he would have been like, this dude's dangerous.
No. He was like, challenge accepted. Because he's always like, we're always fighting about this stuff. And he always has to be right. So,
Yeah.
But
I got to go get ready for the show. I got to shower, shave, make myself look like a dude again. Because right now, I'm looking a little old man with my scruff. I like the scruff, man.
Yeah, a bit of rugged looks, not bad, you know.
The rugged look isn't bad on me. On you, you'd look like a Q-tip. And
yeah,
that's not a good look for you. That's not a good look for you.
I need that kind of like, youth look, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to keep it clean, bro. You got to keep it clean.
Clean and fresh.
Yeah, fresh. All right, I'm gonna jump out. You guys have fun. Kat, thanks for popping me on. That was great.
thanks for coming.
Your friend had zero idea what he was in for, and he's probably not your friend anymore, and you're probably better. Anyway, night, guys. I'll see you. I'll see everybody in about an hour and a half on my channel. Kat will be there. She might even be fed and watered. We don't know. See ya.
It is great.
Ooh. So.
What a stream.
Yeah. I hope I don't lose my friend.
Yeah, just give it time. Do the peace talks. Should be fine. But like I said, it's kind of to test those kind of like your world beliefs, or just kind of like your beliefs there. Because there's one thing that I picked up on where it's kind of saying we want to make sure it's ethical, where you're getting those ethics from, and then it's the law. But then if you're in that position to change the law, what then happens? You know what I mean? So like I said, it's like I was the same as well. Like when I was kind of getting into rhythm and all that kind of stuff of it, because it's like I said, it's logic is there. It's objective. You know what I mean? But like I said, there's plenty more streams to come and things to talk about as well.
Alrighty, so yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah, I got the pizza arriving, but
nice.
Is the stream tomorrow? The one about the thingamabobs?
The thingamabobs. Do you want to say what you want to do? I don't remember. Which one did we pick?
Like I said, I'm easy to start anywhere. But
you want to like say what we're going to talk about in case anyone's interested that likes this type of weird stuff.
For those who are wondering what the next stream is going to be about, conspiracy theories is where we're going.
Yes.
Like I said, there's obviously a wide range
with zero proof, with no receipts, just out of our asses, just all the crazy ideas. And if you ask for proof in the chat, you get banned.
For sure.
Yeah.
You boys better bring your tinfoil hats too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, there's this Kurt Cobain we can get into. We can get into this whole satanic stuff, what they're going on, which is not really conspiracy theory. It's more a lot of stuff. It is fact that we're just basically kind of reading off. But stuff like the Grove, Hibernian Grove or whatever, Bohemian Grove, stuff like that. Yeah, freaky stuff.
The food.
And the food as well. Yeah, processed food and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Really crazy stuff there as well.
Yes. So tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or look it up wherever you are. I'm in Miami, so it's 2 p.m. for me. Alrighty. So I guess we'll see you guys on the other side. Bye.
See you on the flip side.